some senior leaders. But I think he feels like for the first time, Dell, that this is his team, that he's had a chance in his third year to build a program, to lay down some of those fundamental tenets of successful football. And he really is high on this young, kind of inexperienced Bobcat team.
Yeah, and the great thing to see is when a program really gets back to where it should be, there's a lot of equity between each of the 4 grades, right? So you want a certain number of seniors, certain number of juniors, sophomores, freshmen, and he's got full classes in all 4, and that's really good. It's healthy. He has a good number of seniors, a good number of juniors. They've had experience playing for him for 3 years. So you're exactly right. Systematically, everybody understands what they're supposed to do. So he has an intricate offense. I know it looks sometimes stodgy and boring to some folks, but it is very, very sophisticated. And it takes a while, particularly for the quarterback, to be able to trigger that. Right. Defensively, maybe some changes this year from what we saw last year, but definitely this is a team that's ready to do well. They just got a tough schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. So this opening game tonight, as we mentioned with L.F.O, they'll welcome Ringgold out of region, another tough team, Murray County, and so some games to tune up out of region. And then the region schedule, you mentioned kind of a gauntlet. You've got White County, who's always good, Dawson County, who's always great, Wesleyan, you never really know what you're going to get, and maybe the class of the region this year will see Lumpkin County very, very much improved. Yeah, under Heath Webb, and so we'll sort of see how that plays out, and it should be interesting. But tonight, I think, will tell us a lot of what we're going to find out. So we're going to step aside, and when we come back, we're going to get you ready for the kickoff. It is Friday night, and a lot of folks here in Gilmer County are excited. We're excited to see what it holds. Come back with us after this break.
Luttrell's Hardware in Copper Hill, Tennessee is your one-stop do-it-yourself shop. We stock everything from fasteners, electrical and plumbing parts, power tools, animal feed, and so much more. Save yourself a trip or two into town and come see us at Luttrell's Hardware on Highway 68 in Copper Hill, next to Runway Fireworks, or give us a call at 423-548-3300.
Here's Grandma Florence after that flood wiped out the whole neighborhood.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here.
I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Your family is your legacy. Planning for a natural disaster will make sure you're all safe. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today.
My character, Shazam, knows all about growing up in a family full of teenage superheroes. They're bold.
Where's everyone going?
To fight crime?
Okay.
Adventurous. Shazam! There's never a dull moment. And no matter what happens, they'll always have your back. All they need is a place to grow and be themselves. And the best part is, you don't have to be a superhero to adopt a teen. Learn more about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward.
Heather and I had an argument just like any other couple. I was lost and lonely. I had snapped. I had a gun and I was going to take my own life. Heather helped me realize that there was still life to live. For the better of myself, my family, my weapon is now safely put away. A moment of crisis can happen to anyone. Store your gun securely, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo.
Are you ready to help your family get prepared for the unexpected?
Here we go!
Ladybug and Cat Noir know how important it is to be ready, because you never know when Hawkmoth is going to strike or a disaster will hit. And you don't need miraculous powers. Just put those planning skills you already have to good use. Make a plan that will help you and your family be ready when emergencies happen. Ready Kids can help. Get started at ready.gov/kids.
Welcome back to Huff Mosley Memorial Stadium. Jeremy Green here with Dell Land and Caleb Frady. And Dell, you see L.F.O. getting ready here to take the field. We were talking with Coach Standard earlier this week. He says they're the biggest team that Gilmer will probably play all year, especially up front on that line. And so that'll be one of those things for Gilmer, who is, traditionally a smaller team up front. And we'll see how that matchup plays out. But usually with this particular offense, there are some countermeasures for that.
Sure. L.F.O. has a coach that is known, a lot of experience, known for building programs back, and he's got, we were talking about splits between the classes. He's got 24 sophomores and 25 freshmen. About 65% of his football team is in those two classes. So you can see enthusiasm's building. We'll see how they play out this year. Of course, last year the Bobcats beat them 32-13 up there. But L.F.O. holds a 6-4 advantage over the lifetime of the season. The teams have only played 10 games against each other over the years. So it'll be interesting to see how this one goes. And certainly for the Bobcats, they would like to get off to an early start in terms of success, because particularly if you're playing a young team, if you get them down early, you can keep them down, take some of that fight out of them. But we'll just have to see this one roll, how this rolls. Very, very exciting and interesting to see that first game of the year and see how these teams play.
Absolutely. This is our Holtz Ace Hardware Game of the Week here on ETC. And for Gilmer, it's a special night. It is Military First Responder Night. We saw pregame. They honored Eric Maddox, who, of course, is a Gilmer County Fire and Rescue member who passed away last week, had his funeral just earlier today over at Logan Funeral Home. And, just a lot of heartfelt remembrances for Eric in the community. And if you knew him, he was an interesting guy. He was never boring to be around, and so he will certainly be missed. And so looking forward to that. Also, they are now honoring on the field Lieutenant Colonel Monty Davis. You could tell us a little bit about Lieutenant Colonel Davis.
Yeah, Monty graduated here in '72. He was in the Marine Corps from a career standpoint, and after he retired out, was teaching ROTC down at Lassiter in Marietta. An untimely death with a lightning strike, actually, but his family on the field today because he had a nice long career in the military and represented his community very, very well. Monty was a great guy. Anybody that knew him would tell you that.
And so certainly mindful of those two guys and all of our veterans and first responders. They were honored with a round of applause earlier, and a lot of those folks working the game tonight, our Gilmer County law enforcement as well as fire and rescue, having folks here tonight keeping us safe and making sure everybody's going to stay healthy. So looks like the Bobcats will kick.
Won the toss, deferred to the second half.
To L.F.O. So we are getting close to underway, and this, as we mentioned, should be an interesting year. Gilmer going to do a lot of the same things we've always seen them do. You mentioned earlier, and I wanted to kind of piggyback off something, this offense. So for modern eyes, and we talk about this at the beginning of every season, you're going to see them line up and run the ball, and it looks like this triple option is a very simple, boring offense. But it is actually one of the more complex offenses that you can run. There's so many different choices and decisions that have to be made, in the blink of an eye, that it's really complicated. And so these younger kids coming up, and they run it even at the junior high, but they're learning the intricacies of it. And so we'll see for these younger players. Gilmer graduated their entire backfield last year. They still have their quarterback in Isaac Rellinger, but the whole backfield is new. And so we'll see if there's any of those growing pains early on.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting aspects to the offense. There are blocking schemes that play into it. Of course, quarterback reading the defense is critically important, because as long as the quarterback's reading the defense right, there's a play there to be had. But as you mentioned, there's several options on every play. And interesting, they also try to outnumber So at the point of attack, whether it's left or right, they're trying to get numbers advantages. And then, of course, the fullback game is critically important because that keeps those linebackers on the defense anchored. They can't cheat to one side or the other and try to guess which way the play's going, because as each play starts, the very first option that the quarterback has is to hand the ball to the fullback. And if he sees that linebacker vacate his position, it just automatically goes to the fullback, and you've got a nice game. Just very, very hard defense because you have to play sound, technical defense.
And, one of those, we have been assured again by everybody that's involved in this program that Gilmer's going to throw the ball more than they have in the past. But this is the third year we've been told that, and so we'll see if that's true. I'm interested in this particular aspect. We'll talk about the defense in a minute. Special teams. So Eddie Marietta has been brought in the last couple of years to work with special teams, and they had struggles in that area last year, and everybody would say this. There's probably a game or two that Gilmer could have won had they performed better in special teams. So they went out and they found a kicker. He's a senior this year, and we're looking forward to seeing how Noah Turner does. He's going to handle kickoffs. He's going to handle field goals, and actually they may not let him.
Yeah, he's kicking off. Yeah, he's a big old boy.
Okay, so number 30, Noah Turner's going to handle kickoffs and field goals. Douglas Callahan will handle the punting, but we have seen with our own eyes, and from what we've heard in practice, he's been very effective. And so we'll see here if you can start the game with a touchback instead of trying to fight a return. That makes life a lot easier.
Well, as I said, when you first see him out there, you think he's going to be the fullback in this offense. Right. But I understand he's got a great leg. But this, remember, always, though, this is his first action, so that can have an impact on you.
So here we are. A year of waiting has led us up to this moment, and we are underway. The 2023 football season. Fair catch is taken at the 20-yard line, and that is where the L.F.O. Warriors will start. We saw them warming up Dell a little bit earlier, and we'll see what this offense looks like. They're going to be triggered by Keith Darian, the starting quarterback. Excuse me, Darian Keefe, the starting quarterback, and you were pretty impressed with him pregame.
He's got good size, just a sophomore, but they're showing that they're going to throw the ball around a lot. 3 wideouts to the right, 1 to the left, single back in the backfield. He's tall, he's got good range, and he has a good arm. We'll see what he does under pressure.
So as you mentioned, they will throw it earlier on and be a short gain out to about the 23.5-yard line, and that is where they'll kind of roll. And this is the modern style of football. What Gilmer does is very antiquated in the mind of some people, but still effective for most people. They want to spread you out and operate in space, and that's what L.F.O. will do here. And they're going to run a no-huddle offense as well to try to keep that defense guessing.
And you immediately see the big junior tackle, Ryan Smith, 78, big old boy.
Try to run it up the gut, and a nice cutback there by the tailback. He was dead to rights in the backfield.
And great second effort, too.
Yeah, Trey Lewis there, the junior.
So he should have had a 3-yard loss there and turned it into a 3-yard gain. So 3rd and short.
Yeah, 3rd and short here, and big opportunity here for the Bobcat defense to get off the field, get a 3 and out.
And with a long count, two wideouts to either side of the field now.
Yeah, you mentioned the size up front, pretty visible there if you look at L.F.O. They snap the ball. They're going to hand it off. Gilmer gets some penetration, and they will stuff it.
Yeah.
That Bobcat defense swarming to the ball, and that'll bring up a punting situation. So you could not draw it up any better if you were Jeff Nelson in this Bobcat defense.
So there you see a big tackle by 43, Douglas Callahan, who's can potentially play both sides of the ball, but have a freshman playing as a starting linebacker is very unusual.
Yes, he will. He will do a lot tonight. He'll be at tailback. He'll be the punter, and so looking forward to watching that youngster play. Also, we'll see Peyton Chansey, another freshman, in the game some tonight.
Good stop for the defense, and Lakeview to punt. Bad snap.
Oh, they're coming after it.
On the ground.
Gets it away. Good punt. A fair catch will be called for, and it's muff, but it is taken there by Kyle Cowart. And so,
good job of recovering that.
Yeah. So we have the 3rd member of our broadcast team down on the field, and Caleb Frady, listen, it's 68 degrees up here, buddy. How's it feeling down there on the field?
It's a little warmer than 68 down here, but the sun has dipped behind the trees here, fields in shade, so starting to feel like football weather just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Electric atmosphere, at least from what it looks like. And in pregame, you could see a lot of excitement in this Bobcat program.
Yeah, a lot of folks excited about opening night, see where this Gilmer program heads here in year 3 under the new coaching staff change from a couple years ago.
Yep, looking forward to it. Gilmer now 1st and 10. It will be kept by the quarterback. Rellinger gets a pretty good gain on 1st down. And talk about what he's reading right there and why Rellinger keeps the ball, Dale.
So first of all, I want to mention they got great field position out of that change of possession starting on their own 46. They're already now at midfield. So the linebacker stayed at home. The fullback's not there. And he just comes down the line. He can either pitch it or run it, and he chose to run it. And if you can get 4 yards, which is pretty much what he got there, that's exactly what you want, because if you get 4 yards on every play, you got a 1st down every 3 plays.
So here we go, 2nd down and about 6. And they draw L.F.O. offsides with the hard count. We've seen Gilmer do that a lot in the last couple of years, and that's going to put you at 2nd and 1, which is where you like to be.
Well, and it's especially a good thing to do when you're playing a young team. So if you know that you're lined up against some guys that are young, that's early in the game, they're anxious, it's a great chance to catch somebody moving where they shouldn't. And the other thing is, if you can get guys out of position, that's what you want to do in this offense. If somebody doesn't stay at home, then you can break the long one.
So 2nd and 1, you could go play action here, or you just try to pick up this first down of the season, try to build some confidence. We'll see what Coach Standard is thinking.
And look at L.F.O.'s defense. Nobody's further than 5 yards off the line of scrimmage.
Looks like we're going to get either a delay of game or probably a timeout. Nope, it is going to be a delay of game. So those 5 yards you give right back. So as you mentioned, that was primed and ready for play action, but that'll probably take it off the table here as we go back to 2nd and 6. So,
well, I don't know when the Bobcats will take advantage of it, but you can bet that the offensive staff, especially up in the booth, is watching those 2 safeties basically become outside linebackers, and you can see it at home. You can see the safeties crouching. They're starting out about 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. Number 2 now is about 6 yards off. And now we get a timeout. So.
Yeah. Visible frustration down there from the head coach. He's limping a little bit, recovering from a leg injury this year. But while they take the timeout, we'll go back to Caleb Frady. And Caleb, first off, we mentioned that you are a new dad again, and so we hope that life is going well for you. I will say you look a little grayer than the last time we saw you. I don't know what's going on down there.
That is for sure. One, you're in a little bit of zone defense. You get 2, you're man-to-man. So a little bit more taxing, a little less sleep for sure. So, yeah, the grays are starting to multiply a little bit.
Yeah, you'll be looking like me and Dell before you know it.
Exactly.
And so let's talk about this, though. You've done a lot of research, and so this Bobcat team loses essentially all of their skill talent from last year, but you kind of feel pretty good. But then you start off the game with some mistakes like this, and so just those early season jitters, trying to get them out.
Absolutely. You never know what you're going to have in week 1. You can practice and scrimmage against yourself as much as possible. You get the 1 preseason scrimmage, but in a lot of cases you're not really sure what you got until you actually get out there and line up against opposing talent. So I'm sure this thing will look a lot cleaner here as we go through the game.
So coming out of the timeout, they do the safe thing and hand it off to the fullback, and we see what you like to see if you're a Gilmer Bobcat fan, a helmet rolling across the field. That means there's some thumping going on down there.
That's right, and it's a good gain. It turned out to be a nice pickup, about 4 yards. So now they're sitting there looking at 3rd and 2, so not bad at all. But you just I keep my eye out on Ian Berry, who has a huge height advantage. When he's out wide, not out wide right now.
So third down coming here, 3rd and short. You definitely want to pick this up.
Well, you're in 4-down territory.
Yeah. So Coach Standard slowing everybody down, have the play that they want. And it will be another handoff, and it will be good for a Bobcat first down all the way out to the 39-yard line. And
Wyatt
so you love to see that push.
Wyatt Stokes with the carry, the new fullback this year, and that's exactly right. Good gain, good block, well blocked on the right-hand side. Watch that right-hand side cave in. See that? That's all sorts of room out there. Good first down and using up that clock. It's exactly what you want to see. What you want to see happen.
You'll notice down here, number 13, Ryder Wofford. If he looks tall, he is. Ryder, one of the stars on this Bobcat basketball team, probably about 6'5", 6'6". And if you get him one-on-one, that might be a great jump ball situation. And got some room over there down that right side. Look at that. Callahan just all the way down for another Gilmer first down, and this offense finally starting to click a little bit.
Well, and even when they're not clicking or what doesn't look like it's clicking to us, they're doing exactly what they want to do, which is setting up. This is the first time that they've gone to the pitch. They've had a steady dive to the fullback and the quarterback, and on that play they get Callahan out wide for a first down, and now they're down on the 27, and they're firmly in 4-down territory and using that clock up down to 7 minutes and 43 seconds in the first quarter.
So Gilmer doing what Gilmer does. Rellinger keeps it this time, pitches it on outside. Callahan's got a seam. He is all the way down inside the 10-yard line at the 7. And now after what you mentioned, Dale, plunging through the middle of that line a few times, that outside starting to open up.
Good blocking again. That's what you're seeing here. And also you saw a linebacker go for the fullback, and he's out of space, and the cornerbacks and the safeties have to make the tackle. And the thing you look for is how do you make the safety be the leading tackler on defense? Because if you do that, you're winning the game.
Nice luxury to have a freshman that looks like Callahan out there running the ball.
Isn't that true?
So time to convert. And here they hand it off up the middle. And that's going to be Stokes, who's down inside the 5. One of the things we talked with Coach Standard about last week, or earlier this week, was last year, there were some games where Gilmer snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, for lack of a better way to say it. We felt like that in the Lumpkin game. We certainly felt like that against White. And so when you are used to losing, you change your mindset. And so things like this, finishing drives, finishing halves, finishing games, are going to be staples. And so what you can't have is something like that. It looks like it's actually going to be on L.F.O.
Yeah, they lined up off sides. That's when you really get frustrated as a coach. You can't even line up on the right side of the ball.
But so learning winning football and winning capabilities and getting in that mindset, and he really feels like this team has turned a corner in year 3 for him and for them in this program. And so there'll be moments like this throughout the year where you have a chance to prove that.
And the key really is when you get to the 3rd and 4th quarter, do you have the killer instinct? And last year maybe that killer instinct was missing. So it'll be interesting to see if it's here. Right now it's 2nd and goal from the 3.
So they hand it off to the big fullback, and he is into the end zone for the first Gilmer touchdown of the year. Dale, you could not draw it up much better than that, maybe minus that penalty.
No, that's a great drive. Took a lot of time off the clock, which is what you want to do. We're down 6.5 minutes. Both teams have had 1 possession, and you want to limit your opponent to 2 possessions a quarter in this offense if you can. And they just did a great job. I didn't see Lakeview get any penetration. There were no hits in the backfield. Yeah. Everything was forward.
And you talked about those backs being replaced, Stokes replacing Brock Titus, and, of course, Callahan spelling Will Kiker there. Doesn't look like they've lost too much in the backfield. Some really good-looking backs. Extra point is up, and the extra point is good. So just like that, with 6:36 left in this El Rey Azteca first quarter, it is 7-0 Gilmer. We will step aside and be right back after a quick break.
Are you ready to help your family get prepared for the unexpected?
Here we go!
Ladybug and Cat Noir know how important it is to be ready, because you never know when Hawkmoth is going to strike or a disaster will hit. And you don't need miraculous powers. Just put those planning skills you already have to good use. Make a plan that will help you and your family be ready when emergencies happen. Ready Kids can help. Get started at ready.gov/kids.
7-0 the score here in this El Rey Azteca first quarter of action. Jeremy Green, Dell Ann, and Caleb Frady with you. And Dell starting the season off with a confidence-building touchdown drive. That's right in line with the script that you lay out for the year.
Well, there's actually two pieces to that, right? So there's a 3-and-out and a punt and good field position up on your 46, and then a very successful opening drive. So so far the first quarter, Bobcats have looked very good.
So as you mentioned, really all three phases, a lot of confidence in your special teams there with that extra point going through, the field position, the defense with the 3-and-out. So everybody clicking on all cylinders so far, but you are just one play away from that not being the case. So we'll see how it goes.
Great crowd here tonight, by the way. Don't forget that. Great kick.
Yeah, that one a little bit longer. The first one was taken at the 20. That one will be a touchback. So it will be 1st and 10 for L.F.O. They'll come back out with this offense. This offense looks potentially, Dell, like they have the ability to break some and to score, but it's just going to be how much they trust their sophomore quarterback in opening that offense up.
Well, and how much he trusts himself too. He's young, and in this is a passing version of what Gilmer does with the running. He has options. So when he takes the snap, it's not set as to which receiver he's going to throw the ball to. It's not like, hey, you run a 5-yard down and out and I'm going to throw it to you. It's he watches the defense, he watches the receivers and the break. So when it's a pass, he's got a lot of options. With only one running back, not really a lot of options there. And in watching him warming up, he's not really going to be a running quarterback either. Yeah, I'll say that and watch him break one. But
that's right. A little hesitation there, and he looks for a man downfield, and he's had him for a second, but overthrew him just a little bit. Couldn't get the feet set exactly right. Football is an option game. Even if you don't line up in the triple option like Gilmer does, you have these RPOs, as you mentioned, where you make decisions. You also have those option reads in the backfield where you can either hand it off or keep it. And so decisions.
And everything you needed to know about him, you just saw. He had a clear 7, 8, 10 yards of running lane and threw it. Yep. And he was at the line of scrimmage. He almost went across.
So definitely more comfortable putting the ball in the air. They're going to run a little screen here and got some room, but tackled from behind that time. Good job in pursuit by Aspen Hadaway. Team's leading tackler from last season is back, and as a senior looking to make an impact from that linebacker position.
Good call on the screenplay there and pick up of 6. So they've got 3rd and manageable to see if they can make things different. Last time they chose to run on 3rd and short.
So here we go, 3rd down and 4. Quarterback rolls out. Callahan in pursuit. And a good completion there, a little pitch and catch out to the 45-yard line, and that's what they want to do.
That was a great pass. That was a great pass on the run, moving to his left, so throwing across his body, so that was nice.
So now it's the Gilmer defense. That secondary is a completely new unit as well, and so some of these guys are going to try to figure out how to play a little defense in the secondary. They run it that time. Great penetration by that Gilmer front, and that's going to be a 3-yard loss.
Yeah, that was a super job. They almost took the handoff. Got to give a call out there to big number 70, Nolan Price. Good hit in the backfield.
Yeah, shedding that block and really tackles him with his left arm. Gilmer got a little beef up front as well.
And also John Cronick in on that. He's just a freshman too, by the way. That big number 63 you saw there. Another inside handoff, and that one didn't work any better than the last one.
Yeah, so you can see why Coach Standard feels really good about his offensive and defensive fronts. It's going to be those offensive and defensive backfields where they're trying to replace some people. So here with a 3rd and long, you're going to ask that secondary to rise up, and we'll see how they do back there.
Well, if you can win the line of scrimmage, you win most football games. But an interesting play choice from L.F.O. to run the ball twice after they've thrown the ball pretty regularly. And I guess they're trying to stay balanced, but interesting.
So Gilmer's got big trouble out here in the secondary, and that's going to be completed all the way down to the 10-yard line, and finally Colton McCollum makes the tackle, but they were outnumbered over there and just got beat up front.
He did a great job of turning his eyes to the left side of the field and eyeing a receiver and then coming back to the right and throwing it long. Really nice pass play. So if you watch him, he's going to look at the receiver on the short side of the field, see him look. Now he's going to turn back to the middle of the field and go deep, and he's got him wide open. And it was a beautiful pass, too, in stride.
Had two guys open, really, just had to pick which one he wanted to throw it to. And so miscommunication in that Gilmer defensive backfield.
So they're going to try to throw again, and he throws it away. And again, that's everything you need to know right there is he had an opportunity to pick up 5, 6, 7 yards running straight ahead, and he is committed to the throw.
And that may be a coaching choice. Coach Bryan may, not want his quarterback to run that, but that is very unconventional for modern football. Coach Bryan, as we mentioned, successful high school football coach in 4 states, in South Carolina, North Carolina. He was the head coach up at Ottawa in Tennessee, and here at L.F.O. also the coach at Pikeville, was an offensive coordinator at UT Martin. So certainly some experience, and going to be a false start there on the Warriors.
That helps. That's the other thing. The tackle to save the touchdown was really important because you give your defense a chance to play to its strength. It's hard to have a wide open passing attack from the 10-yard line in because the end zone serves as a boundary, right? There's a back to the end zone, so you really can't outrun somebody and throw it long. You've got to get them open short. It doesn't take as much speed to cover the receivers. So Bobcats need to stiffen up and make a stand. They got them second down and goal from the 15 here. And L.F.O. certainly committed to the pass.
This little swing pass out in some open field, and Gilmer once again does a good job swarming to the ball. So L.F.O. will be there at the 10-yard line with third down coming up.
3rd and goal. So an opportunity for the Bobcats at least to force, I don't know if L.F.O. has a field goal. In the warm-ups, they looked like they had a decent field goal kicker, but you do not know until it gets there. Right now, the Bobcats need to stop them, keep them out of the end zone 2 consecutive plays.
Pursuit in the backfield. This time, going to have to run it.
Does a good job.
He is going to end up in the end zone. I think really fooled Gilmer that time because, as you had mentioned, it looked like maybe he was afraid to run, but this time.
Well, they left him no option. They forced him to run, and he did a good job with it.
So they pursued him all the way out of the pocket. He pump faked several times and then finally just found that opening. Good block in the end zone, really a tackle there of Colton McCollum, and it is Darian Keefe into the end zone for a touchdown.
So Lakeview answers, and we got ourselves a football game.
So extra point up and good, and it is all knotted up at 7. Caleb Frady, that happened right in front of you. Talk about that L.F.O. Warrior drive to answer the first touchdown for Gilmer.
That was a really impressive answering drive there by L.F.O., methodically working it downfield with a pass, set up with a long pass to get it inside the 10-yard line. And then I think Gilmer maybe fallen asleep a little bit there. I think that they've realized his first choice is not to run. The pump fake certainly helped, but on that touchdown run, I think Gilmer kept waiting, playing good defense, assignment defense, waiting for a pass, and it never happened, and LFO able to take advantage and tie this game up.
Yeah, you had a bird's eye view of that Gilmer secondary. This is the youngest, most inexperienced unit on this team, and really LFO exposed that a little bit on that drive.
Yeah, you saw what they've wanted to do on that first drive, and now this drive, a little slow pass, short, keep it close, use the pass as a run game, but then able to take those shots. So if there is a weakness maybe on this Gilmer team, it is that secondary and the ability. If you've got some receivers that can get vertical and get downfield, they can create some bad matchups for Gilmer.
Yep, so we'll see how the offense answers. It'll be another touchback. Good job by the LFO special teams unit. Dell, you have to give credit where credit is due. They did a great job answering to keep pace.
They did a great job, and that's really important for a young team to prove to themselves that they can do it. And generally speaking, you get your defense pumped up a little bit when the offense is able to have that kind of success. For Gilmer, it's going to go back to they're going to do the same thing that they have been doing. They're going to, execute their offense. They're not interested in in high-scoring games, they're interested in controlling the number of possessions.
And I think that's important for LFO, a sense of urgency on that drive, because you know, hey, we're only going to get maybe 8, 9 possessions in this game unless you're able to create a turnover. So it'll be Gilmer here pitching that one out wide. And there's some space down the sideline, and it is a foot race. We'll see if he's able to get it, and that is all the way into the end zone for the Bobcats. It is Hunter Britton into the end zone, and hey, you said you're not interested in high-scoring games. How about that one, Dell-Land? One play all the way to the end zone.
And it was so much fun watching that run. Watch this on the replay. He's going to do a great job. Two has him from a speed standpoint. He's going to notice it about here. He's going to run to the center of the field and then back away and able to outrun. That's just a great bit of running by Hunter Britton.
And so a couple of things there to note as we see him line up for the extra point. First off, Isaac Rellinger, the quarterback, making that decision at the last second to pitch it. And also it was a difficult pitch to handle. Britton did a great job of hauling it in, and then, man, a ton of space down that sideline. Extra point up, extra point good, and just like that, the Bobcats back on top 14-7.
Well, Rellinger did a great job of making them come to him, and then that opened it up down the sideline for sure.
14-7 our score. We'll take a 30-second break and be right back.
Are you ready to help your family get prepared for the unexpected?
Here we go!
Ladybug and Cat Noir know how important it is to be ready, because you never know when Hawkmoth is going to strike or a disaster will hit. And you don't need miraculous powers. Just put those planning skills you already have to good use. Make a plan that will help you and your family be ready when emergencies happen. Ready Kids can help. Get started at ready.gov/kids.
14-7, Bobcats with a lead. Just over 3 minutes left in this El Rey Azteca first quarter. You always go visit our good friends at El Rey, and they're that new location over the last couple of years, close to Walmart. Burrito Azteca, my favorite thing to get there. Always hype it up, and I always still get it every time I go. But a lot of good food, a lot of room, a lot of place to hang out with friends. If you're going to take a big group, El Rey's the place to go.
Yep, that sure is.
So we'll see how this Gilmer defense responds there. And, this front is playing really well, but L.F.O. wants to open you up, and they had success with that in the last drive.
They really did. But they would have liked for their defense to have made that drive last longer than one play. So they're back at it. And I think from the Bobcats' perspective, their defensive coaching staff might have enjoyed having. They don't mind having the lead, but they might have liked to have had a little bit more time. I'm really impressed with Turner's kicking. That is 2 through the end zone.
Absolutely, and some very sure and confident extra points as well. So shout out to Coach Eddie Marietta, the special teams coach, for his job. So everything's looked clean so far as well for both teams, really. We've seen a couple of penalties, but no turnovers. It looks like everybody knows what they want to do, and I think that's very indicative of two experienced, seasoned head coaches. Yeah, well, and it's especially interesting to see because first game of the year you expect to see a few mistakes. Generally speaking, most coaches say you grow your most between the first and the second game of the year. But both teams are playing pretty clean right now. See the tailback with some room to run there, and good lean forward for about 9 yards on first down.
Good carry there.
So we saw Gilmer with 2 touchdown drives. The short little pinball action for Wyatt Stokes to score on the first drive, and then a long 80-yard run from Hunter Britton, who right now is probably the leading yards per carry man in the state of Georgia. 1 carry, 80 yards.
Yep, I'd say that's a good average.
Just tell me, don't hand it to me again anymore, Coach.
Second and short and a sack.
Yeah, absolutely. So the one thing that we've noticed about Darian Keefe, first off, that his name is really small on our roster sheets. First thing that I noticed, but he takes a long time to decide what to do with the ball. And so this time the pursuit was just really there. And he does a good job of moving around in the pocket, but eventually ran out of time, and Ian Berry there sacked him.
Yeah, it's a good rush from Barry, being relentless and not giving up on it. And it was second and short and turned it into something long, but a screen pass is the call, and it's going to be close. It's going to depend on the spot.
So Coach Bryan as well noticed that penetration that Gilmer's getting on every snap, and he calls a screen, but it looks like it's going to be a little short.
Just waiting to see where that foot goes down. Yeah, it's a much shorter than I thought it would be.
Yeah, not a great spot there. And so 4th and 1, you're at your own 30, but you know you're only going to get a few possessions.
And they're going to go for it.
Yeah, unless they pooch punt, which people have been known to do lately.
Well, and if you're Gilmer, you'll take that.
Yeah, so you
know, now they're dropping back into some punt formation, looks like. But pay attention to this. The quarterback is the up back, so it looks more like a play than a punt, but it can go either one.
Yeah, so you're trying to see what the defense does. A little bit of trickery going on over there, and Gilmer not falling for it. So L.F.O. will take a timeout. While they take a timeout on the field, we will step aside as well. 1:03 left in the first quarter, 14-7, Gilmer.
Blue Ridge has over 170 new Chevrolets on their way. Silverado, Equinox, Colorado, and more. Secure your new vehicle before it's gone. Now is the time to buy. For North Georgia's best truck inventory, there's only one name you need to know. Bill Holt Chevrolet in Blue Ridge. Bill Holt Chevrolet in Blue Ridge has over 170 new Chevrolets on their way. Silverado, Equinox, Colorado, and more. Secure your new vehicle before it's gone. Now is the time to buy. For North Georgia's best truck inventory, there's only one name you need to know. Bill Holt Chevrolet in Blue Ridge.
So 4th down and 1 here for L.F.O. Looks like they are going to punt. They have a kind of quick hurry-up formation there, but they will drop back into a punting situation here. Gilmer with 2 guys back to catch.
Another bouncer. And a good punt.
Gilmer gets out of the way, and that one will be out of bounds at about the 43-yard line, but you still love the field position.
Great field position, right? And anytime you can start north of your 40, that's pretty good.
So once again, you notice this Bobcat offense, and we talk about it being slow, and you love 15, 16, 17 play drives and just grind it out. But we also saw that it can be explosive. One play, 80 yards.
Last year too, yeah.
So certainly an offense that works. Ryder Wofford a little late getting on the field there, trying to figure out what the play is. And he's going to go now to the other side. And we'll see what Gilmer comes up with. So far, we're almost through the first quarter. We have not even seen them think about throwing it. So they run the little counter action.
Oh, all kinds of room.
And it's going to be another foot race to the end zone. And it looks like the Bobcats are going to win this one as well. How about another touchdown for Gilmer into the end zone for Kyle Cowart?
Wow. 2 plays, 2 touchdowns.
So this Bobcat offense certainly can be explosive. What do we know, Dell? We don't want to grind anything out.
That's a 57. Well, it's not that they don't want to grind it out. It's just somebody's got to touch you.
That's right.
I mean, both of those plays, the running backs essentially went untouched. But good speed. You're surprising because you don't really think of Gilmer County having that kind of speed over the years, but definitely showing some hops there.
One of the things that Coach Standard raved about earlier this week was the strength and the conditioning of this Bobcat team. As we see the extra point attempt here, it is up and it is true. It's good. We'll stay right here. We'll go to Caleb Frady in just a minute, but he raved about the strength and conditioning, and Coach Jeff Nelson, of course, is the strength coach, and he just felt like this team was stronger than it's ever been. He felt like they were in better shape than they've ever been. He said, everybody's bought into the idea of working out. We saw a quote in the Times-Courier this week that, it talked about the record holders in the weight room, that they were all people from the 60s and 70s, and now that leaderboard is full of current players. And so I think you can see the strength. I think you can see the conditioning of this team there. A couple breakaway runs, pushing up front. And so you've got to really like what you see from Gilmer so far.
You really do. They've had 3 possessions. They've got 3 touchdowns, so kind of hard to do any better than that.
Yeah, Caleb Frady, man, it's wild down there on the field. We've seen the last 2 plays from scrimmage result in touchdowns for Gilmer.
Absolutely, and I think it's a combination, like you said, the strength conditioning and how ready and physically ready this Bobcat squad is. It's very apparent. The blocking is really good. L.F.O. really kind of getting manhandled defensively on the line of scrimmage. Gilmer really controlling the line of scrimmage with the offensive line, and the speed is there. It doesn't need much, and the holes that this offensive line's giving these backs and the quarterback to move, it's going to be a long night for L.F.O. if they can't start getting some penetration, start getting some hands on ball carriers.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to love what you see up front there. And, hey, look at Caleb Frady, man. He's on the big screen here at Pettit Field. And so this one is going to be returned. We saw some touchbacks, but good kickoff coverage for Gilmer, and they're going to drop him shy of the 20, right about the 19-yard line. And so good work there by the special teams as well. Hey, I always have to say these names when you come here. It is Pettit Field. It is the Gudger Sluter Fieldhouse, and we had a chance to catch up with Coach Sluter before the game. And it is Huff Mosley Memorial Stadium. And so really cool that here the community remembers people who are special to this area and who have contributed to this football program.
Yeah, it's every one of those names very important to everything that it is to be a Gilmer Bobcat, that's for sure. And one of the things that that Caleb made the point on there that I think is really a critical point to grab hold of is we've not seen L.F.O. in the Gilmer backfield at all. There's been no penetration. They haven't forced them to change their trajectory. Like if they're running left to right or right to left, they're not having to circle 5 yards back and try to speed around. Everybody's able to cut to the hole. So truly, that definitely means the offensive line's doing something. And on the other side of the ball, at least on that last series, we saw the defense definitely have some penetration.
Yeah. So all things that are good so far for Gilmer. And, you know, we talked about earlier, Dell, last year's team looked great. You know, and at the beginning of the year, especially that 5-1 start, you beat L.F.O., you beat Murray County. You lose to Ringgold, but you beat Wesley, and you know some big wins there to start the year. And you had Lumpkin on the ropes, where you would have been the first place team in the region, and then sort of fell shy. So this is a team that, you know, they're not scared of anybody. They certainly are going to come in with some confidence, and drives like those last two certainly help that.
Well, and it becomes critical here to play good pass defense, because they're definitely going to get challenged at this point. They seem to be putting more pressure on.
Yep. So. Wow, what a great job there by the quarterback picking up that first down. And, you know, you got to tip your hat there to Darian Keefe. He was in big trouble and was able to stay in that pocket. Or at least stay safe once he got outside of the pocket, we should say.
So a quick first down, and that'll end the first quarter.
And what a first quarter it was if you're a fan of the guys in purple. After one quarter of action, it is 21-7. We're going to step aside, and when we come back, we will see this Gilmer defense continue to operate. Thanks for being with us here. It is our game time coverage here on ETC.
L.F.O. Chevrolet in Blue Ridge has over 170 new Chevrolets on their way. Silverado, Equinox, Colorado, and more. Secure your new vehicle before it's gone. Now is the time to buy. For North Georgia's best truck inventory, there's only one name you need to know. L.F.O. Chevrolet in Blue Ridge.
Welcome back to the tri-level shot. I mean, is that something or what? You got L.F.O. on the sidelines, and L.F.O. coming off the sidelines, the Bobcats on the field. Pretty much anything you'd want to know about it this game is on your screen right now, and I know all the folks at home are enjoying watching this, and we're appreciative of the audience all over North Georgia that tunes in on Friday nights to watch something that we think is pretty special, because there's just not a lot of this going on around the state tonight.
Absolutely, and you have to tip your hat to our crew led by our director, Nick Boker, and everything running on all cylinders. And hey, first game of the year, you have some stuff that doesn't want to work right. Caleb Frady's got some new fancy equipment down there, and so, but we are functioning like a well-oiled machine tonight. You and I, of course, being the parts that are going to need the most work.
Most oil.
That's right. But so far, this Gilmer Bobcat team as well, like a well-oiled machine. They're really playing well, but L.F.O.'s offense trying to get back into it. They've had a couple punts, but they also have looked explosive in some areas. And
great play there.
Yeah, that Gilmer defense, man, I'm telling you, they are quick to the ball.
So I know Caleb can tell you this, but what I've noticed is the Bobcats are freeing somebody to blitz on every play now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that time it was Callahan coming from that linebacker position.
So they've decided that it's better to make that quarterback throw a little bit faster because maybe they noticed the same thing that you did, Jeremy, that he takes a lot of time to choose the receiver he wants to throw to. So, which is impressive for a sophomore because normally, you know, you're all hyped up and you just throw it to the first guy.
Second down and about 8. Stays in the pocket that time, and then he is being pursued. And that time, that's got to be, yep. You got to be grounding there, right? Threw it straight out of bounds before.
I couldn't tell if it got punched. Maybe we can tell on the replay.
So no flag.
Whether it got punched out. You can see him rolling. Good pressure again. And right here, it looks to me like he threw it out of bounds. Yeah, I think they're talking about it.
Yeah, that's got to be grounding.
I think Coach Standard mentioned to them that that's not exactly a legal play. You got to get it across the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, he certainly was out of the pocket, but that ball has to go forward, and they're going to blow the whistle. And
yeah, Lakeview was going to run a play with no officials.
The officials are discussing, and I don't know what there is to discuss unless they are thinking the same thing you did. Maybe it was punched, but
I guess they're going to have a conference. I don't know.
First game of the year for everybody, even the officials.
Well, and we got to certainly be nice to the officials because there's not enough of them now, apparently.
Absolutely.
Here's a replay on it again. I don't think it's punched. I think right there. Well, maybe.
And yeah,
it's just hard to tell. It looks like Callahan might have got it with his left hand. Watch him reaching. It's just hard to see. It looks like he was going to throw it if he hadn't been punched, but they're going to let him play.
So they're going to call that, I guess, a fumble out of bounds, which is a huge break if you're LFO, and it's going to result in a first down. So a little pitch and catch there between Keefe and Jared Mitchell, another sophomore, good-looking receiver out there.
Good size. He's got good size and just floated straight down the field.
So our first sort of second guessing of the officials and what could have been there, but interestingly, this weekend, Dell, they are trying out instant replay in high school football down at the Corky Kell Classic, and they're going to use that this weekend down there, and then it will be part of the normal officiating process in the state championship games this year, and that is a trial run. If it goes well, we will have it at every stadium next year, hopefully.
Well, they'd have to have television cameras at every stadium, and I can't imagine that being true.
We will see. Georgia is one of 20 states in the nation that's even, kind of messing with it. The rest of the states have not done that.
I can see it in the state championship games because those are all broadcast, and they certainly had a terrible call that would have been reversed in the state championship game last year.
Yeah.
So that.
How about that? That screen pass just floated, and I can't believe that he was able to complete that. And that's a good play. So now it's this LFO offense starting to gain some steam.
They're moving the ball down the field, spreading it around, and finding receivers open. And it is a difficult offense to stop if you have a good quarterback. That's for sure. And I'm very impressed with the sophomore, Darian Keith.
Darian Keith, yeah.
Yeah, with an F. We're not saying Keith, we're saying Keith.
That's right.
Bobcats need pressure. I think they've got the right idea on that.
So Keefe now in a little bit of trouble and throws back across the middle of the field. Yeah. I believe that was Hadaway who knocked it down.
Yep. Hadaway had a shot at it.
And what is the #1 rule for quarterbacking? Do not throw it late across the middle.
Or back.
That's
or
right.
Back across the green. Although he completed one earlier back across the green.
So second down here for the Warriors. Little play action, got a man in double coverage, and Gilmer able to knock it away. That was a risky throw.
Yeah, he's throwing into double coverage in the corner. That's the first time I've seen him lock in on a receiver and just stay there instead of looking at his options.
Coach Nelson in this Gilmer defense making some adjustments, and so they played that one very well.
Big third down play here, though, because they're in 4-down territory. Be interesting to see if they break off a run here and try to shorten up the amount that they have to get for 4th down.
Have a good tailback out there. He's played really well, Trey Lewis. Like they were trying to set up another screen, and Gilmer read it, and he's just going to throw it out of bounds, so good defense there.
And that'll bring up 4th and long. Screen pass did not materialize that time. They've had a lot of success with it so far.
So 4th and 10 from about the 24-yard line, and so you got to go for it, as you mentioned, a little outside of field goal range. 4th and 10. What are you drawing up here, Dell?
Well, if you're on offense, you tell everybody to go past the chain. If you're on defense, you say keep everything in front of you.
That's right. So Keefe looking for a man, and
I got a holding call. That play's coming back, so don't worry about it.
And he ends up getting popped anyway.
So we'll decline that penalty, I think.
Not just one flag, a couple of yellow hankies out there.
Uh-oh.
I think they're for the same penalty. That's pretty blatant hold in the backfield, and Coach Standard telling him he wants to decline it. So it will be 1st and 10 Bobcats.
There you go. That's a good call. I think we could, in that particular case, even though you and I are not professional coaches, we could have made that call.
You can see the hold here.
The tackle?
Yeah.
The tackle by the tackle.
Yeah, you saw a big 78 there. Ryan Smith, the junior. And when we say big 78, we mean big 78, but trying to hold on to that smaller guy and keep him off his quarterback.
So the Bobcats go back to their slow ground and pound offense that's produced 2 touchdowns in 2 plays.
Hey, they got to keep the streak alive here.
I think L.F.O. is just hoping to stop anything short of a touchdown to be successful. And again, you see those safeties are playing linebacker.
And so Rellinger holds on to it this time, and look at this, Dell. It is another foot race, and Rellinger is going to beat everybody to the end zone for another Bobcat touchdown. How about this Gilmer team?
3 plays, 3 touchdowns. I don't think I've ever seen that in 40-plus years of calling games.
Wow. Rellinger that time, they kept waiting on him to pitch it, and he just found a seam in the middle. And Dell, you can't say it any other way. He outran the whole defense to the end zone.
He's all by himself. Everybody's sucked up inside. He's got 1 safety to beat, and it doesn't happen.
Wow. Got to tip your hat to this offense. And L.F.O. is thinking, what in the world is going on here? Our own Caleb Frady, I think, was part of the end zone celebration down there as they line up for the extra point, Caleb. Man, Isaac Rellinger just coming towards you.
Yeah, and he was coming pretty quick, too. A full head of steam. We've talked again about how good Gilmer's on the line of scrimmage here tonight, giving those backs, the ball carriers, a quarterback, the opportunity to run. But he really did outrun the defense there. So I think the speed that you're seeing from this Gilmer offense, maybe a little bit of a surprise. How much of that's conditioning? How much of that is just speed? It's impressive to see, though, if Gilmer gets into foot race, they haven't really been beaten too many times tonight.
Yeah, so Caleb, you're from LJ. Dell mentioned in 40-plus years, he doesn't think he's ever seen that. How about 3 consecutive plays from scrimmage resulting in Bobcat touchdowns? That is beyond impressive.
I don't know if I've ever seen that. I don't know you see that a lot in any football game. You could watch a variety of high school, college, pro games this fall. Probably not going to see that too many times, if at all. So really impressive what Gilmer's been able to do with the slow, methodical drives, but then just lightning quick strikes as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dell, as we think about this, and we appreciate Caleb being down there, and the youngest and best looking of the 3 of us down in the heat.
By far.
Taking it. And so
even with no sleep.
That's right. And so, somewhere right now, Mike Thompson and Mark and John Pettit and all these proponents of option offense are somewhere smiling ear to ear. L.F.O. was in no way defensively prepared for what Gilmer was going to throw at him. And so I think that you're going to see a lot of teams that way who just cannot adequately prepare to face what Gilmer's throwing at them with this option attack that can be, as we've seen, explosive.
Well, so here's the only thing you got to think about when you think about 3 offensive plays and 3 touchdowns. It's difficult to score 3 consecutive touchdowns running against air.
That's right.
I mean, much less against another high school football team. That's just what we've seen tonight really is historic. Yeah, this may not make the ETC Classics, but it should, just for that 3 series of plays, which are something that I don't think any of us have ever seen before.
Yeah, just the fact that nobody tripped and fell is pretty remarkable.
Right.
And 3 different guys.
No penalties, no nothing.
Yeah, 3 different guys as well. That time it was the quarterback. We've seen Hunter Britton and Kyle Cowart all do that, and so just tremendously impressive. And Caleb very rightly attributed it to the blocks. The holes that are being opened up.
But sure, when you don't get touched, I mean, somebody's blocking.
But that breakaway speed for those guys, and we've seen the L.F.O skill players not be able to run down Gilmer's, and so that certainly bodes well. And L.F.O is a young team. Gilmer is certainly going to play different teams throughout the year that have different skills and different abilities. But as you mentioned, it doesn't matter if you're playing against anybody. To be able to do what they've done is pretty impressive.
Yes, I mean, certainly stopping the option requires discipline. Every player has to stay at home, and you hear that talked about by coaches up and down the line, college, high school, whatever, that play against it. And if you got a young team, it's very, very difficult to do that. But I'm telling you, Gilmer County, for the first game of the year, is executing their offense in a way that is beyond anything I've seen. It's just amazing. And this may be the only time we ever see it this year. I don't care. It's still going to be one of the most amazing things that I've seen doing this.
That just up the road, though, there is a Fannin County defensive coordinator and defensive unit licking their lips saying, you won't do that to us next week.
Well, sure. And if they can convince their players to stay at home and not get sucked in by the eye candy or the fakes, then maybe. But Caleb Frady makes a great point. The blocking has something to do with that as well.
So as we mentioned, it will be Gilmer on the road at Fannin next week. Excited to see that matchup as always. And then the next week, it'll be Fannin traveling to Pickens. And then later this year, it'll be Gilmer Pickens. So we've got all the rivalry games this year for you on Friday night.
And Lakeview's going to try their hand running the football, and it's working for them, and not a bad thought, just to give their defense a chance to reset their heads.
Yeah, Gilmer trying to strip that thing out of there, but L.F.O doing a good job. The tailback hanging on to the ball, Trey Lewis Jr.
And it is a pretty warm day today. We're early in the year, so you're going to see a lot of players substituting in and out for both teams.
While we have just a minute, we want to thank our second quarter sponsor, Appalachian Propane. Before we know it, it will be winter time, and you'll be needing to get some propane to keep your homes heated for the winter. And we have a penalty flag over here near the sideline. I'm not sure, unless it's a late holding call, what that call would be. We'll see if we can figure it out. Unless maybe there was a face mask. I don't know. Let's see if we can pick it up.
I don't see Coach Sanders saying anything, so normally he'd be arguing on anything called against us. And L.F.O.'s taking the walk back.
So it must have been a holding call kind of late there, yeah.
Yeah, blocking the back, I think.
Okay, blocking the back. Came in really late, though, on the sideline after the tackle was made. But if you're Gilmer, you'll take that.
Definitely take that. And of course, at halftime, we're going to see 2 great bands. The band from Lakeview Fort Oglethorpe made the long trip down to Ellijay, and then of course Gilmer Bobcat marching band. I saw Caleb Frady talking to the new band director. You got to ask him what that was all about.
Yeah, let's see here.
Wanted to go deep.
Stop. Well,
still wants to go deep, and he does.
You really have to love what you see in some respects by Darian Keefe. And I'm going to call a high school quarterback, compare him to the greatest of all time. But that's what you saw Tom Brady make a living doing for a long time. Just I'm not going to run no matter what. I'm going to keep moving my feet, keep floating, kind of stay in some protection. I'm going to throw this ball one way or the other. And so he keeps looking, making time, and that time it worked for him.
Well, the Bobcats have to get pressure for sure because no secondary can hold up for 8 or 10 or 12 seconds, and he's just taking a lot of time to pick out his receiver. He's across the line of scrimmage now. He's got to run.
Yeah, makes a wise choice there, a business decision, as you would say, to step out of bounds. But still, then he never really committed to running. Didn't break off in a full sprint.
So Lakeview quietly here, putting together a pretty good drive and doing it mostly on the ground. One pass, but the rest of them are runs. But again, I think the key for the Bobcats for the rest of this game is going to be getting pressure on him, because if he has enough time, he's going to hit somebody.
If you're the L.F.O. defensive coordinator, you're over there, back at the drawing board going, all right, guys, we got to figure out something different. See the first handoff there to Wyatt May.
Not much happening on that run. Bobcats enjoy seeing people run. I think they have more fun defending that than they do the passes.
He's got a good look at that L.F.O. offensive line.
Big old boys.
Yeah, the right tackle position is pretty beefy over there. See the
he
center.
Looks like an offensive line by himself.
That's right. The center, the smallest guy in that unit, Brock Donahue.
Good run by the tailback outside and for another first down.
And right in behind that big tackle that we were talking about there, Ryan Smith. You see over there the left guard and left tackle as well, got some size. Obed Andres, the junior, and Landon Larson, the sophomore.
Obed, that's a good name you don't hear very often.
That's right. The folks that are responsible for the pregame meal there at L.F.O. are spending some money.
Yeah, they are. Plenty of time to throw. Now he's going to shoot. Oh, great. Oh, almost picked. I thought he'd undercut that route and had picked it off for sure.
I believe that was Colton McCollum who got a hand in there, and he had some running room if he'd have grabbed it. Bad throw, bad decision that time from Keefe. Let's see if we can get a peek at it on replay.
Yeah, McCollum's going to undercut this route, and he's in a perfect place for a pickoff here. There he is. Nope. He knows it.
So good job there from McCollum, the junior DB. Second down and 10 for the Warriors. You'll set up another screen, and this time it works to perfection. Good little hesitation and cutback, and finally Callahan brings him down.
It's going to be first and goal from the 4, though.
Now, we are journalists, Dell, and so Callahan is Douglas on our sheet, but he is Bubba. And so I talked to his dad, Jake, of course, who's one of the school board members here in Gilmer, and asked him what he wants us to call him, and he said either one. So I said he's going to be Douglas until he does something really nasty, and then he's going to be Bubba. So he can be Bubba there for that big tackle.
Rolling to the right.
Another dangerous throw.
Yep.
And
didn't really have that pass.
Good job, as we mentioned, by Gilmer getting some pressure. I believe that was Callahan again. And freshman a handful out there.
Did a nice job of cutting through the blocking to get some pressure, and then hard pass to complete for sure. It's taken way too long by then.
Good job of John Cronick, the other freshman, getting some pressure out there. So ninth graders contributing here for Coach Standard.
Second down and goal from the 4. Looking to good pass. I think, and it's going to call them complete. Yeah. It was a good pass.
I'll tell you what, I surely thought he got a foot down. Dell, we'll see if we can get a replay over there in that end zone.
Well, fortunately, if we're not going to pass that on if it shows something different.
So we'll.
No, I think he had a foot on the line. He was out of bounds.
Good job by the officials right there.
Yep. 2 guys right on it. They knew. So now we're third down and goal. And again, are you a little bit surprised they haven't even at least tried to run the ball?
We're going to pretend we didn't see that last angle there. We'll just move on.
He was out of bounds.
Maybe closer than we thought. But they're going to try to run that right up the middle and nothing doing. Are you surprised by that call on 3rd down? And
yeah, I am. That's the 1st down call, not the 3rd down call. So now we're 4th down and goal from the 4.
Well, the plan obviously was to always go for it on 4th down, and so they're going to talk about what they want to do. So maybe trying to catch the Bobcats napping. Yeah.
Maybe a screen pass. That's been their most effective, but you only have 14 yards to work with because the back line in the end zone effectively limits what you can do on offense. So that means the defensive players can cover things up. It's going to be interesting to see how much pressure the Bobcats choose to apply here. Ask Caleb what he thinks.
Yeah, Caleb Frady's down there, and so, a couple things. What's the 4th down call? But also, you're right there by the marching band warming up. We saw you talking to Aaron Garland earlier. What's the scoop down there?
Aaron and I go back a couple decades. We're dear friends, so it was good to catch up with him for a few minutes. Of course, Aaron, Gilmer alumni, marched in the band in high school with me, so he's excited to be back in LJ, back in Gilmer County, and get the opportunity to work with the band. And 4th down call here, I don't know. You've passed your way down the field. I think you're going to have to try to put the ball in the air here because on the ground, the Gilmer defensive line is doing a real good job of clogging up running lanes.
Yeah, so if you're Gilmer, you have the choice of, do we bring the house and try to put pressure because Keefe has hurt you, or, do you sit back in coverage and try to defend? We'll see what they decide here. So big 4th down.
Well, I'm thinking L.F.O. is going to pass. The big question is what's Gilmer County going to do defensively?
So they're trying to run some play action.
And that's great. Great defensive play there.
Yeah.
Could not have been better.
So that answered the question, will they bring pressure? They did. They brought it right up the gut, as you see here
Calvin
on the
Daly.
replay. And, man, what a good job there. That is number 60 for the Bobcats, Gavin Daly, and just all in there, as well as number 10, Grant Ballou. And turnover on downs. And you got to love that, Dell.
Yeah, that was a great defensive stand by the Bobcats. And with 5:37 to go in the 2nd quarter, I'm done predicting how long these drives are going to be. Remember, we're on a streak of 3 straight plays for touchdowns.
So we'll see what Gilmer draws up here.
And L.F.O. stacked to the right. If they come to the left, they've.
Well, streak had to end sometime.
It just had to end. You're exactly right. Short game.
If you're Gilmer, you do not want L.F.O. to touch this ball until the 3rd quarter.
No.
And even then, it'll be halfway through the 3rd quarter.
That's the way you want it. That's the way you draw it up.
You got to give a shout out to number 25 for L.F.O. He was getting blocked. Still reached down that. And that's Chris Robles, the sophomore. He was getting blocked and reached up and made that tackle.
Regardless of the score, there's some talent on this L.F.O. team. You're not going to want to play them a couple of years from now. Oh, yeah, inside handoff to the fullback. And, again, those linebackers start cheating left and right, and that just opens it right up the middle.
Yeah, how about that? Fullback dive for the 1st down.
And the clock runs. And now the Bobcats only have 1 timeout left, so.
4:42, left here. Appalachian Propane 2nd quarter. As Dell mentioned, we'll have some halftime coverage for you. We'll have some marching bands. We'll hear from Gilmer head coach Paul Standard. I'm looking forward to watching this Gilmer Bobcat offense continue to shine here.
And we're going to see the first pass of the game. And Ellinger's going to run out of there. Rellinger, good job.
I tell you what, he had something, but it took a long time to develop. We were watching the receivers, and Coach Standard is giving it to one of his backs. Didn't like the way he broke that route off. And so you can see it here. You had Callahan coming out of the backfield where they were trying to go, and just took a little bit too long. But I do love that because you're keeping that defense honest. You've got to back them up just a little bit.
Nope, you're exactly right. But Rellinger certainly did a good job with it. So it doesn't count as a pass attempt, actually. But and again, the fullback and the penalty flag.
Yep.
In an area that would indicate holding.
That's the one bugaboo, right? You cannot get behind the chains.
Right.
Now you can the way you've played tonight, but in a typical way that you want to run this, when you get behind the chains, you run into trouble.
Yep, you sure do. There's no question.
And that's true of every offense, but especially one that wants to control the game.
Well, most of their plays are designed, if you even if the defense plays you good, you're going to get 4 yards out of it. And I don't know. Maybe 52 is who he's talking about. But Big Smith's out there with 2 people blocking him, and he's saying, golly, that's just not fair. So
it will be on the Bobcats.
No, it's blocking below. It's a chop block. Okay.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Yep. I was having a hard time seeing the holding. But that's a 15 instead of a 10.
Coach Standard not so sure.
Of course not. He wouldn't be doing his job if he accepted any penalty.
That's right. It still wants a fuller explanation there from the official.
So Bobcats second down now and 18. Long way to go.
Telling them to go ahead and snap the ball, not get a delay of game. It's going to be a toss, and there's some room out there.
Good blocking.
They're going to get a big chunk of that back on the handoff. Good job on the run by Hunter Britton.
Still going to be 3rd and long, though, which is, again, to your point. When you got 18 yards to make up in this offense, you can run good plays just like they did there with good gains, but you still got a way to go.
When you're up 28-7, you can afford to just kill this clock for
Sure.
two more plays and go that way. 3rd down and very long. 3rd and about 11.
You might see that the first actual pass attempt here. The Bobcats have 3 receivers, and they're going to burn their last timeout right here.
Yep, so while they talk about it, we'll take a timeout with them. We're getting close to halftime, 28-7. Bobcats still in control.
Welcome to El Rey Azteca Mexican Restaurant. We invite you to indulge your senses with our from-scratch authentic Mexican food. Whether you are hungry for fajitas or the El Rey Azteca burrito, we offer a wide variety of fine Mexican dishes, drinks, and desserts. Our inviting patio, indoor seating, and bar has a seat for everyone. So come to El Rey Azteca for delicious food, great drinks, good friends, and loads of fun in a casual and friendly atmosphere.
Jeremy Green here, back with Dell Land. Caleb Frady is down there on the field, 28-7. Caleb, you got to love this if you are a Bobcat fan so far.
Losing a lot of offensive talent, from upperclassmen a season ago. Not really sure what you're getting, how those youngsters going to perform under the lights when it's their time to shine, and they've really shined here tonight. And again, strength conditioning has clearly paid off for the Bobcats. Year 3 of this full strength and conditioning program that Coach Standard brought with him. Everything, these are his guys. They're running his system, well-versed, and they look really well, finely tuned tonight. We talked early on, little hiccups here and there for that offense, but they've looked really sharp since then, and I think you got to be really proud of where this Gilmer squad's at here tonight.
So how about being proud of that?
Rellinger. Yeah. Rolling against his body, being chased by the defensive end, and makes a big pass for a first down.
Yeah, Kyle Cowart out there and just
almost from the nines blitzing off the backside, and almost from the get-go he's in trouble and manages to wait until that receiver clears, and he's open. And that really is a head-to-head hit. That should have been a 15-yard penalty right there.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is a Bobcat first down, and maybe the best result of all this is there's no way L.F.O. is really going to get the ball back with any chance to do anything.
I think Gilmer's got scoring again on their mind.
So 1st and 10, about the 44-yard line. They're going to hand it off there. Gets out to about the 48. So as you mentioned, staying on that average 4 yards per carry.
Well, you use that fullback a couple of times here. It's going to open the wide pitch, and that's what they're setting up for. And I still think you've got the height mismatch, whether it's Wofford or it's Berry outside. You've got a height mismatch if you want to go deep, and it's Wofford right now.
So Wofford one-on-one, as we mentioned, he's about 6'5", 6'6", and be good to toss it up there.
Yeah, it looks like they got it in mind.
Yep, they were thinking about it, but Rellinger no time. But look at him, turns the corner, and he's still going to, not get a huge gain, but he avoided a big mess.
But I tell you, Wofford was 10 yards open if he had the time to set his feet and throw. So they'll come back for that play again.
Yeah, the coach is seeing the same thing we're seeing. Probably saw it long before we saw it. But, you know.
Well, plus Wofford's not just a tall, lanky guy. He's fast. We saw that on the basketball court. You know, Barry's fast, too, on the other side. So plenty of speed there. But we're under a minute, and we're 3rd and 9. Might be running the ball here.
Gilmer, of course, did defer. They'll receive the second half kickoff.
And they're going to pitch, and they're going to get a first down.
So now you're out of timeouts. Are you going to think about putting in the air and trying to score, or are you just going to be content to go into this league?
Well, I think you can you don't want to give the other team a touchdown by throwing a pick, but I think you can throw a couple of long shots towards the end zone. Now, the difficulty here now is you no longer have the surprise, right?
Yep.
Those safeties are going to play back more than 4 or 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. You might try to get that pitch. Oh, you got somebody wide open on the right side. Nobody's with him.
Wow, this
They
is
left
big
him
trouble for
open.
L.F.O. Oh, he falls down. So, yeah, L.F.O. did not even cover the receiver out there.
Hayden
And
Morrison.
There is a flag on the field.
Ineligible downfield for the Bobcats. Wow. What was this? That means something wrong in the formation.
Yeah, and that must have been what caused L.F.O. some surprise. But, man, they identified him, you know, being open. And you could see the surprise on his face as well. Caught the ball and immediately tripped did Hayden Morrison.
So the point I made a while ago about running 3 straight plays for touchdowns, you can even not score if nobody's playing defense. That's the example.
There you go.
I didn't want to see it happen, and I'm glad for Hayden that the penalty wiped that out. Even if he'd have caught it and run into the end zone, it would have been wiped out. So nothing's lost there.
Coach Standard all the way out at the hash mark and gets off the field, and he's telling his quarterback to spike that ball so he can draw up a play here with about 12 to 13 seconds left.
Well, you can get a first down and stop the clock for a second, but it's still, no matter what happens here, it's been a really good first half for the Bobcats. There's no way you can look at it any other way.
So, you know, I think the one thing you regret here in this, you know, under 2-minute situation is that you used all of your timeouts. But at the same time, you used your timeouts in the first game of the year with a young team. And so,
sure,
you know, it's one of those catch-22s.
You don't get to carry him over. So he's used them with 11 seconds to go, so I don't think there's anything. You manage them differently in the first half than you do in the second half anyway.
So if there is a play that's in the shotgun, we'll see it, but it looks like maybe they're going to take a knee and be done with it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the whistle's for down there.
What?
So they're going to back him up. Not sure what the penalty was.
That's all about.
Looks like Bobcats are going to be content to take a knee here and go into halftime with a 28-7 lead, and I think that's probably a wise choice here on opening night.
Especially if you get the ball to start the second half.
That's right. So you have to love what you saw in this first half. 3 straight plays from scrimmage that resulted in touchdowns. Also, this Gilmer offense sort of getting what they wanted. Defense played well. No errors in special teams, and so you're happy with that. It's our Ace Hardware Game of the Week, and so far it's all Gilmer, 28-7. We'll step aside, take a break. When we come back, we'll have all the halftime action for you right here live on ETC.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Oh boy.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Since 1994, North Georgia has called on Appalachian Propane for all its propane needs. Why propane? It's extremely affordable, efficient, and most of all, clean burning. Go green and think clean with propane. Our exceptional customer service and affordable rate has made us the best choice for residential, business, and farms throughout North Georgia. So the next time you think propane, think Appalachian Propane, a division of the Thomas Oil Company since 1960. Remember, go green and think clean with Appalachian Propane.
Come on down to Holt's Ace Hardware in Ellijay. It's time to upgrade your grilling game with our premium selection of grills and smokers. Stay fashionable while enjoying the great outdoors with our trendy and functional clothing for men and women. Need furniture? Holt's Ace has what you need from the den to the patio. Visit us today and start making your house a home. Tackle any yard project effortlessly with our wide range of high-quality tools and equipment. Holt's Ace Hardware in Ellijay.
Welcome back to our Game Time coverage here on ETC. It is halftime, and we want to send you now to some thoughts from earlier this week with Gilmer Bobcat head coach Paul Standard, and we will hear what he has to say about this upcoming year and what he expects from this Bobcat team.
It is exciting, and our young men have worked extremely hard, and our coaches, and I know our community is ready to get started. Start of school last week. And, it's in the air, so everybody's excited to get started.
Absolutely. We're here in the field house, and, that feeling is sort of here. But before we get into this year, let's talk about last year a little bit. So you finished 5-5, and, you look at that, and a lot of people would say that's mediocre. But we were talking earlier, I feel like last year was a huge step forward, especially the start of the year. You start off 4-1 and win some big games, and so it's really a building block and sort of giving you some momentum as you enter year 3 here.
No doubt. Obviously, we had a couple disappointing losses last year, but the season as a whole was tremendously successful. We had a group of seniors last year that were fine leaders. More importantly, they were great young men, good football players. Got one at Georgia Tech right now, Will Kiker, but just a great group of young men that were leaders. And, we were their second head coach, and that was tough transition, but they did a great job leading this team. And this year's team, as I've said this before, any success that we have this year will be directly related to what the seniors of last year did for this football program. So we did have a lot of great things. We had some bumps in the road, but our kids persevered, and we've just carried right into the off season, and now we're here at the kickoff.
Yeah, and so learning to win is part of those close games. And so we're looking forward to that this year, obviously. And so as you think about this, and of course we're here talking about L.F.O. in the first game, and we'll talk about them in a minute. But talk about what changes people might see. In the off season, the rest of the world forgets about football while you guys go about your business. And so talk about some things that may have changed that we might see with this program.
Well, I think one of the things that is a change is that we have had a few seniors who have not played before decided they want to be part of our football family, and we're so excited about that. We got a couple basketball players, we got a cross-country runner that are all going to play for us, and I think are going to have an impact on our season. So that's a change. One good thing that didn't change is the continuity of our staff. Our staff is intact with the exception of an addition. We added Coach Matt Christmas, who comes from a long coaching lineage. His dad was a long-time coach in this area as well as in Virginia. And he and I competed against each other many times. But Matt's with us, and then we've hired an outstanding athletic trainer, Bob Cable, who came from West Virginia, who had been in the college ranks for 36 years. And he and his wife have retired, semi-retired and moved to the mountains, and we're excited to have Coach Cable with us. But, in terms of other changes, I think you'll see a lot of the same things. I think when you build a program, one of the keystones to that would be consistency in your leadership, not me, but of our staff, our school leadership, and then how you go about your business. And our kids now, our seniors who were freshmen when they were sophomores when we came, they know the deal. And I think they understand the culture that we all have created here. And I think that's a key to us moving forward.
Yeah, so you used a key phrase there that I think is really important, the way you go about your business. And so now you're here in year 3, and you have been able to sort of lay that foundation. And so when you think about some of the core principles and tenets, talk about how these kids and the whole school, talk about how they've embraced those things and sort of what your expectations are for that.
Well, when we first came, I was a little surprised that our football team wasn't very close. And there was a lot of reasons for that. no matter what the reasons were, we knew that was a key area that we needed to address. And the second thing was the communication or lack thereof between coaches and players, between players amongst themselves, and between coaches and parents, who are the backbone of our program. Without our parents and our support group, we will have no type of football program. So we went about attacking those issues. The first thing was the caring for each other. Was something that the kids took to, but it did take a little bit of time to understand that we expected the older guys to take care of the younger guys, and we have gotten to that point now, and I'm so happy. It started with our first small group of seniors, but the actual fruition of all that work, we're starting to see. The communication factor, our kids, my first year here, it wasn't uncommon for kids to miss, which I was not used to from where I had come from. And so we had to address that. Our kids have done phenomenal over the last 2.5 years with that. The communication with our parents are a vital, integral part of our football program. In fact, tonight is Tube Steak Tuesday. So every Tuesday night, our moms and some dads cook hamburgers and usually hot dogs for our guys. So after practice, we all eat and have some camaraderie together. Those are just some things that we've done over the last 2, going into our 3rd year, that I think builds a team. You know, I know that term is used so much, family, but it is, and it's really important to us moving this program forward, are those, principles that we've tried to address.
Yeah, so, people underestimate the value of those things and how important they are. So let's move from that side of it to the physical part of it, because ultimately those things happen on the field and those things transition. And so you start this week with Lakeview, Fort Oglethorpe. And so talk about that game a little bit and maybe what we expect to see in that one.
Well, we went and watched them scrimmage last week, and my kids know that when I say this sometimes in jest, if they'll outlaw blocking and tackling this week, we might have a chance, because they might be the largest team we're going to play. They are really, really big. They're coached by an outstanding coach, Mac Bryan, who's been in the college ranks. His second year, going into his second year, they're going to throw the ball a good bit. They do have a good running back, but their line of scrimmage is really big. And so that's something that we have got to contend with, playing the right technique. We can't stand up with them. We're going to play low pad level, and keep them from covering us up for that running back who's not real big, but he can fly. And so, they much improved, in my opinion, from what we saw last year. And so, a great first game for our young men. And, 2 weeks ago we scrimmaged Commerce, who's got an outstanding long history of success. And I've known those coaches over there for many years. And I thought our young men did a good job of competing. And we did a lot of good things in that scrimmage against a really good football program, which is going to help us going into this week.
So your schedule doesn't get any easier after L.F.O. Next week you go on the road to Fannin, and when you're a coach, fairly or unfairly, you're judged by 2 things: how often you make the playoffs and how you do against your rivals.
No doubt.
And so,
no doubt.
Pickens, encompasses both of those, being in your region. But so, talk about how you prepare these kids, not just physically, but emotionally, to play against kids they've known their whole lives.
No question. So, and I say this every year, and I think our young men are starting to understand. When we approached the Fannin game last year, and then the Pickens game as well, I explained to them that I understand those were big games. I, as a high school player, played in one of the greatest rivalries in our state, the St. Pius versus Marist. And then I coached in that rivalry for 20 years. So I understand the importance, but I also understand that if you don't keep everything in perspective, that one night, good or bad, can affect you, good or bad, as you move down the road. So, if, for example, last year as we got to the Fannin preparation, I told those guys, I said, look now, this is a big game because it's the next game. I know that's coach talk. But in reality, it really is, because I said, let's say that we win, which we were fortunate and we won. I said, does that mean the season's over? Are we just going to, be content? And I said, on the other hand, if things don't work out, is the season over, and are we not going to keep working for the goals that we have together as a team? And then when you get to Pickens, as you said, it's more important because it's a region game. And obviously last year we weren't successful, and that's on me, but it hurt us more, not because we lost to Pickens, but we lost a region game that was important. Yes. Now, I told our guys yesterday, because I said, look, if you're going to go watch Fannin, and that's great if you do, because I'd like for you to go check them out, but you can't lose focus. We got one thing in mind, that's L.F.O. And so our guys understand where I'm coming from, and as I told them, if I have to get you excited to play Fannin, you're probably in the wrong sport. I shouldn't have to give you the rah-rah speech to get you ready for Fannin or Pickens. You're going to get enough of that in the community, I know. I said, we got to keep you grounded here. So I know that I know the importance of those games to our community and to our players, but I also don't want them to, I don't want to get out of their own element, if that makes sense, as we prepare.
So we've used this word expectations a lot. Right around the corner, if we go around, you've got a board with goals on it, and it doesn't stop with your last game of the regular season.
That's right.
And so, I know every coach expects the defense to pitch a shutout every game and the offense to score a lot of points, but that's not reality. So what is your expectation for this team, not just necessarily in wins and losses, but what you want to see with them achieving some goals they haven't achieved before?
Well, I think last year we did take a step. When you come into a program that hasn't had a lot of recent success, I think you have to be conscious of what type of goals that you set, short-term and long-term goals, so that your young men can, because our kids, they're smart, they're not stupid. If you tell them something, they say, Coach, come on now. But we gave them those expectations that we felt like we had a chance to contend for a region championship. And some people may have thought I was crazy to make the playoffs and to obviously have a winning season. Well, we didn't meet two of those goals. We were the first team last year and since 2014 not to have a losing season, which I felt like was important for our kids to understand that's a feather in their cap. We've got to finish games, and again, that goes back to me. And that's one of our goals this year, is to finish, especially when you're up multiple scores late in the game. Those are things that we've got to do. Okay. But other expectations for this team, and I told them if we had anything less than contending for a region championship, making the playoffs, contending for a region championship, would really be a slap in their face, because that would mean that we didn't believe in what they're capable of doing. And so that's important. Some other goals that the community really doesn't know, because they're not in the weight room every day or in the meeting rooms every day, is that I want our attendance at school, which has been tremendously improved from my first year here, of our football players. It was not uncommon for guys to take a one-day-a-week off. I said, what are you, a banker? I mean, I don't understand what's going on here. And not missing practice. That was a goal that they each year have gotten better, so that's a goal. Another goal was our strength in the weight room, and Jeff Nelson and his strength staff have done a phenomenal job, and our kids have bought into that culture. We start our class, first block, 15 minutes before the whole school. We do our own Pledge of Allegiance and we get to work while the rest of the school is showing up. And we do that because we've got so much work to get done, and our kids, they don't complain about that. They know what the expectations are. So those are our expectations for this year, and I couldn't be more proud of our seniors, this year's seniors, who have taken that lead and have run with it.
Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to a great year. We wish you nothing but continued success. And as we go on through this year, we're looking forward to talking to you more. Thank you, Coach, for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Come on down to Holt's Ace Hardware in Ellijay. It's time to upgrade your grilling game with our premium selection of grills and smokers. Stay fashionable while enjoying the great outdoors with our trendy and functional clothing for men and women. Need furniture? Holt's Ace has what you need from the den to the patio. Visit us today and start making your house a home. Tackle any yard project effortlessly with our wide range of high-quality tools and equipment. Holt's Ace Hardware in Ellijay.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Welcome back to our halftime coverage here on ETC. We appreciate Coach Stander taking the time to talk with us. We're going to send you down now on the field to the Gilmer High School Marching Band.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it once again for the Gilmer High School Marching Band.
Luttrell's Hardware in Copper Hill, Tennessee is your one-stop do-it-yourself shop. We stock everything from fasteners, electrical and plumbing parts, power tools, animal feed, and save yourself a trip or two into town and come see us at Luttrell's Hardware on Highway 68 in Copper Hill, next to Runway Fireworks, or give us a call at 423-548-3300.
Florence, after that flood, wiped out the whole neighborhood.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here.
I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Your family is your legacy. Planning for a natural disaster will make sure you're all safe. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today.
My character, Shazam, knows all about growing up in a family full of teenage superheroes. They're bold.
Where's everyone going?
To fight crime?
Okay.
Adventurous. There's never a dull moment. And no matter what happens, they'll always have your back. All they need is a place to grow and be themselves. And the best part is, you don't have to be a superhero to adopt a teen. Learn more about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward.
Welcome you back to Huff Mosley Stadium here in LJ as Gilmer leading L.F.O. The Warriors down 28-7 to the Bobcats here as we get set to get this third quarter started. And Gilmer, an impressive showing on offense here tonight. A methodical drive downfield to open the game on the offensive possession for the Bobcats, but then 3 straight offensive plays resulting in touchdowns for the Bobcats have really buried L.F.O. to this point. It's going to be curious to see how these two react here. Gilmer really dominating the offensive line and the line of scrimmage here tonight, penetrating, getting good holes. These Gilmer ball carriers not even being touched half the time. So impressive showing there. L.F.O. has been able to make some passes downfield. The running game has been largely non-existent for L.F.O. So it's going to be curious to see if they can get some running game going here. If Gilmer's secondary adjusts here tonight, they're starting to send blitzers as well. So exciting to see the second half here and what we've got to come here with Gilmer leading 28-7 on opening night of our 2023 coverage of high school football here in the ETC viewing area.
Yeah, thank you, Caleb. Jeremy Green here with Dale and Caleb. You are right in the throes of it down there. That Bobcat team warming up behind you, L.F.O. in the opposite end zone. Long halftime there. It was good to hear, Dale, from Coach Standard. And, you know, he is, when you watch him interview, very, very calm, very collected. We've seen him breathing a little fire down there here trying to get his team motivated in night one.
He's a passionate guy on the football field, and that's exactly what you want, I think. I know I always liked Coach Rick, and he was very calm and quiet on the sidelines, and Coach Smart not so much. So I like that passionate attitude, and I think the players feed off that. I think probably as much as anything that Coach understands that. But I got to tell you this: all of the excitement and being fired up and all that stuff aside, the Bobcats really executed well offensively and defensively. Made good adjustments. I think the key here is mental. Last year, they're dealing with some, especially in the back half of the year with those 4 straight losses, they're dealing with some issues where they were ahead a lot of times and let it get away from them. And now you're starting the third quarter. You're up 28-7. It's time to sort of put the opponent to sleep, if you will. I know that may not in certain areas of the world, but we're talking about high school football, right? So it's time to sort of take the starch out of them, make sure they don't feel like they can get back in the game, and just pull away. Just pull away here.
Yep. So you get the opening kick here of the second half, barring an onside kick or something like that. And I agree with you, Dale. It's a time, whether it is or not, make them feel like it's out of reach. And so this is where you would love one of those long, slow, methodical touchdown drives, you know, or another one-play drive, but something that is demoralizing for your opponent.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for Coach Standard, it's not so much about the other team; it's about his team, and it's about making sure that they know what it takes to finish a game off, especially when they've played well, they have a lead. They go in at halftime. They don't want to come out and not be concentrated. They don't want to start out with 2 penalties and a turnover. You know, they want to finish this thing the way they started it.
And the second half is underway. We appreciate Luttrell's Hardware bringing you that halftime coverage, the interview with Coach Standard and the bands on the field, and that's a big lick to start the second half.
Yeah, and Cowart's up limping a little bit. Now he's getting it back, but probably he fielded that ball just short of the goal line. He might want to let that one fly on through and take over out on the 20.
He's probably thinking about that 60-yard touchdown run he had a few minutes ago.
Sure.
But
you break that initial wave, and you've got that thing happen. So it makes it interesting, and I'm sure the coaching staff told him what to do there.
Yep, good coverage from L.F.O. there, and it will be 1st and 10 Bobcats here. We'll try to grind it out, get something going, and put another touchdown on the board. Caleb Frady talked about some of the storylines from this first half. It was this Gilmer offense and their execution, particularly the blocking up front, leading to big runs like this from the fullback Stokes.
Wyatt Stokes with a great carry. Not many times fullback gets 20, but he sure did. Now we're stop and play. I'm not sure.
Don't see any flags.
Nope. Unless there's something on the other side of the field. Looks like there might be. Not sure what that is. Sideline warning, maybe. Yeah, that's what that was.
Yep. You are right on it, Dell. Sideline warning against L.F.O. And that'll just be a warning. Next time it'll be a penalty.
That was well blocked again. I mean, if you've got a fullback that can go 16, 17 yards before he gets touched, I mean, you're blocking.
The other thing Caleb talked about on defense was the pressure that Gilmer's been able to bring, and we saw that in that last drive before the half. And so you want to continue to play well, continue to do what you do. And as you mentioned, Dell, it's about you and your team doing what you do to control the game. And Gilmer's going to be hit with a false start over there. Receiver, I believe that was Wofford, tried to get going a little bit early. When you do a hard count, everybody's got to know the snap count.
That's right. Everybody on your side's got to know. So give themselves a little bit of hold. We talked about not being behind the chains, so 1st and 15, not what you want to do. But so far, the way the Cats have been blocking it, they've been able to get forward a few yards on every play.
While we have a minute, we want to thank our third quarter sponsor, Bill Holt Chevrolet of Blue Ridge. They've been here with us for a long time. We appreciate Bill Holt. So if you're in the market for a new vehicle, go up and see Bill Holt right there off of Highway 515 in Blue Ridge.
So Stokes again, fullback, a couple of 3 yards. And I know, Jeremy, for you and Caleb as well, you've watched this offense enough to know that fullback runs once, that fullback runs twice, and then when you least expect it, they're outside of you. So may not be this time, may not be next time, but it'll happen.
You want to continue to watch, too, for that potential play-action pass. You can see they're one-on-one on the outside with the receiver. And so if you can catch him napping.
Fullback again.
Man, Stokes all the way out for the first down. And I tell you what, he's got pretty good speed for a big guy. His job is to be a big bowling ball, but he's doing well. How about the blocking out there? Big number 65 for L.F.O. You see him coming into the screen. That's Antonio Hendricks, the second, and he's big enough to be two people, and they pushed him in that block all the way over to the Gilmer bench.
So here's the thing. You don't have to stop running the fullback. The other team has to make you stop running the fullback. So if they're going to give him 10, 15 yards, then Wyatt's going to get a workout here.
Dell, look at that L.F.O. front that Gilmer is running the ball against. Those are three huge young men, and they are having their way. They do a little bit better job that time. Stokes stopped, but he's at midfield, and it's getting a little physical out there. We see some chippiness.
I think L.F.O. certainly had their pride challenged in the first half, and I'm sure that that's exactly what Coach Bryan talked to them about at halftime, is maximizing their effort. So you're seeing a little bit here in this early drive.
You know that they were challenged to perform better, and they had their manhood challenged by the coaching staff, and so. But,
coaches will do that at halftime when you're getting beat 28-7.
Gilmer is going to pass it. They've got Ryder Wofford wide open, just a little bit late there. They had him off the line of scrimmage, and Wofford slowed down just a touch. But I love that idea, keeping the defense honest and saying, hey, we got this receiver. We're going to let him go get it.
Well, again, all those things are purpose plays, just like running the fullback. That that'll affect those two safeties who literally the entire game are lining up 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. So that play's certainly there. That's not a crazy play to run, but it is 3rd and long now. Of course, you could be in 4-down territory if you get close enough.
As you mentioned, 3rd down and 7. They're going to hand it to the fullback, and he's going to be about 2 yards short of the marker. I don't see any reason you don't go for it.
No, I don't either. Although, again, he got a left foot spot.
Yeah, so just on the other side of the 45, 1st down marker is right at the 43. So we'll see what they do. You really, the way things have gone this drive, you feel good about Wyatt Stokes picking up those 2.5 yards.
Or if the linebackers are feeling that Wyatt Stokes is going to get the ball, you feel good about somebody getting wide.
Here we go, 4th down. Big play so far. They do hand it off to the big fullback, and he is out across the 40.
Got that first down.
That's
right. And I've noticed on L.F.O.'s defense, they have stacked players out wide, and they're almost inviting the fullback. So if you look at them, they're sort of stacking too deep on the defensive end side of the ball to try to stop that wide run that was so effective in the first half for the Bobcats.
And, you know, they're trusting big 77 and 62 to clog that middle, and Gilmer just not letting them do it so far.
So see the 2 players shifting over to the Bobcats' left-hand side there, and then you've got 2 players on the right. You're really stacking a safety behind the linebacker.
And Gilmer is going to continue to read that defense and do it. That time, the big front from L.F.O. does get the stop, but still you're getting about 3 yards. You're happy with that?
They're not penetrating. I mean, the Bobcats are getting forward progress, and in a 4-down game, you can hand that fullback off 2 more times. I mean, if they're going to commit 4 guys, 2 on each side to the wide side of the field and leave the middle unprotected and then hope their defensive line can stop, you know, if I'm Coach Standard, I like the middle.
Yeah, he actually got almost 4 there. They gave him a good spot, and so, you know, you do that 3 times, that's 1st down. Alabama math taught me that, Dell. They're going to run play action here. Rellinger got a guy in the middle wide open, and he is going to make his way on down into the end zone. No, they're going to say he's just short at the 1 yard line.
He wanted the TD.
That was Blake Reese.
Yep. Good job with Blake.
You love Rellinger, too. That was his 2nd read. The guy that he wanted was covered initially, as you watch here. And
he's got some pressure. He does a great job not overreacting. And again, he's rolling to his left to get across his body.
And so you could see that they really wanted Wofford over there on the outside, but instead got the guy cutting across the middle, and he was wide open.
And he made a nice move at about the 20 that got him an extra 17. So you're 1st and goal from the 2, and I don't think we'll pass here.
No, I think this is going to be big 35 or either a quarterback sneak. You don't want to do anything too fancy. Well, they're going to hand it off to the tailback, and he spins on into the end zone. Grant Ballou for a touchdown for the Bobcats.
That was a great way to start the 2nd half right there.
Exactly what we talked about. And how about the big 4th down conversion leading to that as well, as we see the light show here at Huff Mosley Memorial Stadium. Our own Caleb Frady is down there on the field, and Caleb, you talk about execution. They pick up a 4th down, get a big pass play, and so we're starting to see a little bit of the versatility of this Bobcat offense.
4th and short, you have to get a 1st down. The offensive line doing its job. Rellinger looking through his reads, like you mentioned, finding somebody open downfield, and then able to push it in again as well. So a lot of different options here starting to be shown out of this Gilmer offense, which I think is encouraging. We've talked about, you know, how it felt like maybe this team at times last year would get behind the chains a little bit offensively and would kind of get mired down. But tonight they've done a good job of staying on schedule. The offensive line not letting them get behind schedule. Relatively clean game from the penalty aspect, but also showing a variety of ways that they can move the ball down the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And Caleb, I tell you, when you look behind you on that big scoreboard, 6:51 left on this clock, you use almost half of the 3rd quarter, and Coach Standard has to be smiling about that as well.
Absolutely, and you're north of 300 yards rushing now, which I know he's going to be really proud about, and that's not enough for this offense. You want to keep the ball and have some big numbers on the ground. So this offense showing a lot of versatility tonight. Maybe some good things to come this season for the Bobcats.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, you're looking at 6:51 left to go in the third quarter, so the number of opportunities for Lakeview Fort Oglethorpe to get the ball are now compacted into a 12-minute fourth quarter and half of the third quarter. So it to the attitude of, or speaking to the attitude of knowing how to win games, that's key right there, because you've just basically said to Lakeview Fort Oglethorpe, unless you get a few turnovers, you don't have enough time to get back in this game.
Absolutely. While we have just a second, we want to send a shout out to our colleague Donna Enos, who is at home tonight, and she's watching us. She also has sent us a score update at half, or in the third quarter, excuse me. It is the Pickens Dragons 21 and Sonoraville 14. So the Dragons, at last check, were leading. We try to get you a more current score in the near future, but shout out to Grant Myers and the Dragons. Sonoraville, usually a pretty good team.
Oh, they are indeed. And then, again, interesting that L.F.O. decided to run that one out about a foot deep in the end zone. And nice patient run, gets back across the 25 to the 26, so the gamble paid off.
So 35-7, the score in this Bill Holt Chevrolet Blue Ridge third quarter, and we'll see what the defense does here. Another good thing about this, you also get an opportunity to maybe get in some of your second string reserves, whatever. So you get people to get in the rotation maybe more often than they typically would in a game like this, and so that's valuable as well.
Well, I've been watching. They're playing a lot of players tonight anyway, but probably the deeper substitutions, if you're going to the third level on your chart and the fourth level on your chart, that's probably mid-fourth quarter, yeah. I'm guessing.
But any minutes those youngsters can get are important, because as we've talked about before, you are one injury away from being the starter in that situation.
Well, playing your two deep a lot in meaningful minutes, first half, second half, and they've been good at that. And we got a flag. What's that about?
It's way over here.
Illegal procedure, he's saying?
Oh, okay. That came way from almost midfield on the near the Gilmer sideline, but it will be a 5-yard penalty on the Warriors.
Wow. Must have lined up wrong or something. I didn't see anybody even move.
These Bobcat fans really enjoying the game.
Student section's been good tonight. They've turned out.
Yeah, we'll get a camera shot of that student section in a minute. And that's a great job getting some pressure on the quarterback, and they spin him forward, but they end up getting him down to the ground. So that Bobcat defense continuing in pursuit. The student section went deep in their closets tonight for this is military appreciation tonight. So they've got and first responders, and so they've got some red, white, and blue on.
Definitely do.
So the student section has turned out, the alumni as well.
3rd and 13, so this is a big pass play for them, or they're going to go 3 and out. So the Bobcats with an opportunity to stop. Need a little bit of pressure. Going deep, and they got a receiver.
That ball is underthrown just a little bit. Good job there by Hunter Britton of not interfering, got his body in the way, and so that will be a 3 and out for L.F.O. As we mentioned, the alumni have turned out. We've got the stands are full, and so just a great night to be a Bobcat. There you see that student section rocking their red, white, and blue, the American flags, and I don't think they've sat down the whole game.
Nope. They've been up, and that's what you want to see. That's great.
That student section a little lighter, though, because some of the young men that have been in that student section are in pads, and so got a lot of players.
Too.
Yeah, growing numbers for this program.
Yeah, you look at the sideline. If you get a view of the sideline, there are a lot of football players out right now.
Looks like it's going to be another penalty, maybe a substitution infraction there.
Yep. That was too late to get somebody in on the punt. But you'd give up 5 yards to save a block if you didn't have enough players on the field, which they clearly didn't.
They will let you play with 10, but it's not advisable.
It's not a good idea. Bobcats using twin safeties to try to keep the ball from landing and rolling.
I tell you what, every one of these punts, though, the ball has skipped back to the punter. So if you were going to bring pressure, you might have a chance, but. Be hard to beat this field position on your opponent's 40 here with about 5 minutes left in the third quarter. the Dragons have put another touchdown on the board. They lead Sonoraville 28-14. So good opening night for both of our teams here in Gilmer and Pickens County.
Dragons look like they're going to be formidable again this year, and really once they got going in the second half of last year, they were a very, very good football team.
Yeah, Coach Grant Myers and starting to get things going in the way that he wants for that program. Here, the Bobcats up 35-7. Rellinger looking to try to add to that lead. They're going to hand it off, and some room to run all the way down past the 30 for a Gilmer first down.
And that time they ran into the teeth of that stack, and the stack didn't really help. I don't think L.F.O. I mean, they've tried adjustments. You can see 2 players out to the left side, and that's where they're coming. And those linemen just are doing a great job. I'm telling you, I love to watch the artistry of linemen pull and block, and they are doing such a great job of that tonight.
And we've talked about the complexity of this offense in the reads, but the blocking is part of the complexity as well.
It is,
creating the best opening. And as you mentioned, you can watch these guys pull and cut and do all the things that they're doing. It is really impressive to watch.
Jet sweep to the right.
Good job by L.F.O. that time stringing it out. And so still, though, a pretty good gain. Hunter Britton on the carry there. I do love that with this new stable of backs. As we mentioned, you graduated all 3 of your starting backs. And these guys really didn't get a ton of reps. But it looks like they've sort of stepped in. And you're not saying that you don't miss Will Kiker and Hunter Watkins and those guys, but they've sort of stepped in and assumed those positions, and they're doing well.
And there's when you said stable, you're exactly right. There's more than just 3 this year. We've seen 5, 6, 7 good backs.
Yeah, so far you've seen 3 of them get into the end zone with Stokes from the fullback position, Hunter Britton, and I believe it was Kyle Cowart that scored the other touchdown. But we've seen
Rellinger too as well.
Rellinger, yeah, you've seen Grant Ballou running back there, Callahan as well. So we've seen at least 5 different guys carrying the ball.
And a 3rd down 3 here, but again, you're in 4-down territory. You're sitting on the 22-yard line. You have to go just across the 20. So as Larry Munson used to say, a long 3 or a short 4.
Shout out to Larry Munson. It's always a good night when you get to throw that in there.
It absolutely is. Best announcer ever, I have to say. And I know I'm biased.
Isn't it amazing to think, and while we have a second to talk about it here, in just a couple of weekends, we'll have college football back. Man,
oh, I know.
Best Saturdays of the year. And I will say all of our, quote, local teams look to be improved. Georgia, of course, going for a 3-peat or a national championship. And with that bunch of cupcakes on their schedule, they have a good shot. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. All you Georgia fans throwing stuff at the TV.
Hey, we make schedules 10 years in advance. How did we not know that Tennessee Martin wasn't going to be the #1 team in the country this year?
And to Georgia's credit, before I make fun of them, they did have Oklahoma on the schedule for this year. But with the SEC realignment next year, they took that game off. And so when you replace them with the Citadel or whoever they're going to be playing, you have a tough time. But Tennessee will be tough. Florida will be tough. There'll be some tough games. But Georgia really primed to have another great season. Of course, Alabama always reloads. They'll be starting a new quarterback this year, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, Georgia still has a little tough schedule. They have to go to the Fire Hose Alley down in Auburn, Alabama.
That's right.
Then we have to go to the Swamp at Neyland Stadium and the Swamp in Florida. So lots of different places we get to travel this year.
And Auburn, through the transfer portal, very much improved team, named a new starting quarterback in Peyton Thorne today. So all those teams. Georgia Tech trying to reload as well. Gilmer's own Will Kiker down there.
Great hold straight up the middle, and man, that was awesome. Peyton Chansey, freshman.
So how about that? The freshman back, as we talked about getting some younger players in, and he is hyped down there in the end zone. You can see it just sort of
So watch this blocking. Look at the hole open up here. Block, 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 block. Man, it's just like, is anybody going to touch him there? One guy finally and his own guy touches him. So he got touched once by L.F.O. and once by a Gilmer player and into the end zone. Great blocking all the way through.
Legs kept moving through all the contact, and just like that, Gilmer puts another score on the board. We'll see the extra point attempt here from the senior kicker. Noah Turner putting on a show here tonight from special teams.
He's had plenty of practice.
Caleb Frady, the youngster Peyton Chansey, ran right to your location. It's that Gilmer blocking, opening up holes, and then those backs fighting off contact.
Absolutely. We've talked about the strength and conditioning of the offensive line, able to move on the offensive line, and the speed to allow those backs go untouched. He had to work for it this time, so showing off a little strength from the weight room as well. But another impressive drive by Gilmer, again, just kind of whittling this clock away and really burying L.F.O. At this point in the game. And now, like you've mentioned, you get the opportunity to maybe see some backups, build some depth that you're certainly going to need here as the season progresses.
Yeah, 42-7. You talked earlier, Caleb, about Gilmer being favored in this game, which they were, but I don't know that any of us expected 42-7 halfway through the third.
No, certainly not. I mean, obviously, L.F.O. comes into the season, you know, probably going to be a bit of a struggle this season for the Warriors, but this is very surprising, and I don't think you expected to maybe see the firepower out of the Gilmer offense. You expected those long, methodical drives, the ability to score, eat up a lot of clock, but Gilmer's able to do mid-range drives, long drives, score in one play. A lot of versatility out of this Gilmer offense tonight.
Yeah, and it's a great point in saying not what we expected, because I think Gilmer won 32-13 over at L.F.O. last year. And a lot of folks felt maybe Gilmer graduated a lot of talent, and they did, and that L.F.O. brought a lot of talent in and was better. So maybe the theory was it was going to be a much closer game. I certainly wouldn't have been surprised at that. But the Gilmer County offense has put on a clinic, and the defense has done its fair share. It's really interesting to watch the kickoff game from the Bobcats, as they've been in the end zone several times tonight.
And the kicker goes immediately over, and Coach Paul Standard reaches out his hand and shakes his hand. That's one of the elements that this team was missing. And as you grow into a better team, that's one of the things that you add. And Coach Standard actually said in his interview with the Times-Courier this week that for the second summer in a row, he did something he's never done. They spent time working with special teams and put a special emphasis on it. And he gave, of course, the credit to Eddie Marietta and the special teams unit, but you got to love it. You got to love the willingness of a senior like Noah Turner to come off the soccer field and learn to kick a football, and has done a great job.
A little rollout and a great pass. So not to forget that L.F.O. has a good quarterback and some good receivers. And that time the Bobcats were not able to get pressure on him. And I think that's been the key to their success on defense, is being able to beat a much bigger offensive line that L.F.O. has. Clearly, when you look at them, you can see they're huge. And the Bobcats have been able to get through them and get pressure on the quarterback.
And Graydon Johnson with the reception that time did a great job. L.F.O. still playing, trying to score here, trying to move quickly. They're going to hand this one off. A lot of space out there, and Gilmer able to string it out. Got about 6 or 7 on that gain. Good job, of course, by Trey Lewis. He's done a good job all night. Coach Standard called him out as a back with some speed and some breakout ability, and so doing a good job out there. It's just really been Gilmer's offense controlling this game. L.F.O.'s offense has not played that poorly. They just haven't had a lot of chances.
And it puts pressure on you because you have to be so precise. You know, you can't afford to have a 3 and out or you get behind, and that's really what was happening to him. Nice seam route. The receiver was open, but that time the first really poorly thrown pass we've seen from Keefe is he missed him behind him. He didn't anticipate speed.
A little bit of miscommunication. They're trying to work it out now.
Yeah, I guess that's right. They're talking.
Yeah, I was supposed to do this. No, you were supposed to do this. I was supposed to zig. You were supposed to zag.
The receiver was running to the open spot. He had a seam, and I guess maybe he was supposed to do something else. So.
You know, we talked about reads. Those receivers have reads as well. You're supposed to do that, and so those miscommunications happen. Little pitch out
on 3rd and short.
Time, yeah, going to be a first down, just right past the marker. Another good job by Trey Lewis.
And, again, just seeing how good L.F.O. could be on offense if they had a chance to get a rhythm and could click, and if the Bobcats weren't able to get a lot of pressure. Bobcats jumped. Yep.
Yeah, a little too excited. I believe that was Ian Berry that time. Looks like we got an injury.
Cramp.
Yeah.
First one of those we've seen tonight.
It is a very warm night, and these Bobcat players do play both ways, and so that is prone to happen on a really, really warm night. While they tend to the Bobcat dealing with the cramp, I believe that is Colton McCollum. While they tend to McCollum, we'll step aside and be right back.
Heather and I had an argument just like any other couple. I was lost and lonely. I had snapped. I had a gun and I was going to take my own life. Heather helped me realize that there was still life to live. For the better of myself, my family, my weapon is now safely put away. A moment of crisis can happen to anyone. Store your gun securely, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo.
Are you ready to help your family get prepared for the unexpected?
Here we go!
Ladybug and Cat Noir know how important it is to be ready, because you never know when Hawkmoth is going to strike or a disaster will hit. And you don't need miraculous powers. Just put those planning skills you already have to good use. Make a plan that will help you and your family be ready when emergencies happen. Ready Kids can help. Get started at ready.gov/kids.
42-7 the score here. Colton McCollum, all right, got stretched out over there. Now he's getting loose to go back in the game.
1st and 5, short down in distance for L.F.O. with 1.5 minutes left to go in the third. And L.F.O., by the way, on their 8th possession of the game, just to not to belabor the point, and that's with the Bobcats scoring on 3 one-play possessions.
Yeah, absolutely limiting those, and especially in this second half, very intentionally using that clock. Quarterback rolls out. He's got a man open, and that was a fantastic throw through the heads of Graydon Johnson. Wow, that was a touchdown.
That was a great play by the quarterback and a beautiful pass on the run and 40 yards downfield on the dime. That's just hard.
Darian Keefe saying, come on, man, you're messing up my highlight reel. They can surely go in and edit that where it looks like a touchdown throw. So it'll be 2nd and 10 here. Just over a minute left. Keefe fakes that one and throws it out. A little bit of a wobbly throw, and so kind of messed up the timing of that. Complete to Aiden Bennett.
Yeah, they were trying to run a tunnel screen, but they were running it to the wide side of the field, and it didn't have a chance to have the same kind of impact that you're looking for. The spacing wasn't right on it. And so as a result, now they went from, 1st down and 5, and now they're 3rd down and basically 5.
Just about 5, yeah. 3rd and 4 probably, but you're in 4-down territory the rest of the game. Now it's going to be 3rd and longer. A little false start.
Yep. So for L.F.O., they've got, I'm telling you, they've got plenty of talent. The media folks were not really wrong about the improved level of talent and size on that team. But they've got some work to do to get things to the execution point.
Gilmer will welcome another team from that region here in a couple of weeks. Ringgold will travel down, and Ringgold put a beating on Gilmer last year, so Gilmer wanting to get a little bit of revenge on that game.
And in sort of a surprise game, I haven't seen it in the second half, but Ringgold was over Heritage Catoosa 14-0 at half.
Yeah, Ringgold with a new head coach and Austin Crisp over there, and so some folks thought they might be down, but playing well tonight. Heritage is a classification larger than Ringgold. Good little pitch and catch that time. The reception made out there by Michael Keith, junior. Excuse me, I believe that was Jordan Nenarat, number 37, not 27. That will be the final play of this Bill Holt Chevrolet third quarter, and it was a great quarter for the Bobcats. They're able to sort of put this one on ice a little bit, and so after 3, it is 42-7. Great night for the Bobcats. One more quarter left to go. Come back with us as we continue with our live game time coverage right here on ETC.
Bill Holt Chevrolet in Blue Ridge has over 170 new Chevrolets on their way. Silverado, Equinox, Colorado, and more. Secure your new vehicle before it's gone. Now is the time to buy. For North Georgia's best truck inventory, there's only one name you need to know. Bill Holt Chevrolet in Blue Ridge.
Welcome to El Rey Azteca Mexican Restaurant. We invite you to indulge your senses with our from-scratch authentic Mexican food. Whether you are hungry for fajitas or the El Rey Azteca burrito, we offer a wide variety of fine Mexican dishes, drinks, and desserts. Our inviting patio, indoor seating, and bar has a seat for everyone. So come to El Rey Azteca for delicious food, great drinks, good friends, and loads of fun in a casual and friendly atmosphere.
First down and 10 for the Warriors of L.F.O. Quarterback in trouble and just sort of shoves that forward. That's going to be grounded.
That's going to be grounded. There you go. That's about the third time they could have called it.
Yeah.
Going to get it on this one.
Just sort of shoved that forward. Was trying to get it to the line of scrimmage, but couldn't get enough steam on it. This officiating crew is thorough. They're always going to get the call right. They talk about it several times.
I'm interested here that one official has the football and he's back at the line of scrimmage, but I don't think grounding goes from the line of scrimmage. I thought it goes from the spot of the foul and loss of down. Yeah, and it's loss of down. We'll see. Look, yeah, there you go. There you go. Spot of foul, loss of down.
So good job again by Gilmer of putting pressure on Keefe. He has to throw it away, so it will be second and long.
Second and a long way. If you can count that high, it looks like, ooh, they got to go to the 16-yard line for a first down. The ball's sitting on the 39. It'd be close to 23, wouldn't it?
Be pretty close. And what do you use this to do for a living, Dell? Again, something in finances, you know. Quarterback in big trouble.
Great
he is
sack.
Popped almost all the way back at midfield. Big hit by big number 63, John Cronick.
Freshman. Think about the contributions we've seen freshmen make on this team this year.
That's
tonight.
Whole lot of ninth grader coming in your grill right there if you're the quarterback.
It is.
And look who he fought off to get there, too, the size of the guy he's matched up against. And so great job by this Gilmer front, especially on defense here.
Now third and forever. 36 maybe. Oh, he's got a great arm. Nice long pass, and oh man, he dropped it again.
Listen, I'm sure that Keefe is really good friends with Graydon Johnson, but they are not going to be hanging out tonight.
He's not letting him ride back on the bus. Graydon's going to have to find the ride home. As he's standing in there, he makes a Beautiful pass right here and off the fingertips.
Now, that one wasn't as bad as the other one.
Yeah, it was a little tougher, but if you can get your hands on it, you're supposed to catch it. It's what I've always heard.
That's right. So 4th and 32. You don't really have a lot of plays in the playbook for that. So they will punt. Gilmer in that safer punt formation, 2 guys back. It's another good one. And good decision that time.
Turned out that way, didn't it?
Yeah, Kyle Cowart let it go and went to the end zone. Called for a fair catch initially and then changed his mind.
And if he didn't feel comfortable about getting under the ball, it's a good thing to wave it off, even if it had been down closer, because you just don't want to. You don't want to give the ball back to L.F.O. here because they're feeling like they're out of it, and really probably are. So it's. I know we're not supposed to say that with 8 minutes to go in the game, but. And we're seeing something new here. Looks like. Is that Bo Cronic that's in at quarterback? I believe it is. 17.
Yep, absolutely. Bo Cronic, sophomore in at quarterback. He will hand it off. Down the road in Jasper, Sonoraville has just scored. It is 28-21 in the 4th quarter. So the Dragons trying to hang on.
So this is that point in the game. You're up 42-7, and you are giving guys that are deeper down the roster a chance to get on the field and play, and that's an awesome thing to do because those snaps are repetitions, and snaps are really important to get this time of year. And yeah, plus all these guys have worked hard in the spring and all summer long and during camp. Yeah, and getting them some time on the field is a good thing to do.
So 42-7, our score. As you mentioned, these younger kids getting some time. See Peyton Chansey back there in the backfield. They're going to hand it off. And
good cut.
Yeah, a little bit of contact there. Ethan McCollum, a senior. Ethan, a good baseball player as well.
So 3rd down and about 5. Big 3rd down play for this group. And again, up 42-7. You don't want to get anybody hurt this early in the season, so a lot of advantages to playing different folks.
So clock continuing to run here.
Yeah, I'm going to get a 1st down out of that.
Wow, sort of shoved forward for the 1st down. That's Chansey.
How's the blocking look down there, Caleb, on this end of the field? Got a lot of young guys in there.
Ability to bring that second wave in. They're fresh, but obviously likely inexperienced, but they're able to make penetration and keep this offense moving.
Good look from a freshman running back there, too.
While we have just a second, we want to thank one of our new sponsors, Climatrol Air, bringing you this 4th quarter of action as we see Chansey continue to roll. And so we appreciate them coming on, bringing you this 4th quarter, another one of the great local companies here in our viewing area.
A couple of, really 3 going back to the touchdown. Impressive runs from Chansey. He's got some quicks.
No timeout is taken on the field. We will take it with him. 5 minutes left, 42-7, Gilmer in control.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Welcome back to the Climatrol Heating and Cooling fourth quarter. And it is a fourth quarter where Gilmer feels really good about themselves. 5 minutes left, and they're ahead 42-7.
Second and short, and getting some really quality reps from a lot of players. Is that 14 in the game now?
Looks like the ball is on the ground. A Bobcat tried to get on top of it. Let's see who ended up. It is L.F.O. who ends up with it. So the first Gilmer turnover of the game in the fourth quarter, and it will be the Warriors who end up with it. And that's one of those teachable moments for a younger team.
Yeah, I think McCollum was in the game at quarterback the first time we've seen him take a snap. So those center exchanges become much more difficult.
Yeah, Jason McCollum, the freshman in there, just never really got a hold of that snap, and so it will be L.F.O. ball here with 4 minutes left.
And a lot of fresh players on the field lining up is an issue for the Bobcats right now. L.F.O. still going with their first team, as you'd expect. Their coach hasn't seen enough out of them to let them have any time off. And Gilmer's going to have to take the last timeout they've got to get their defense lined up.
Yeah, while they're doing that, we will talk about the rest of our football schedule for the year. Next week, we will head just up the road at Fannin County. It'll be the Bobcats and the Rebels, and no matter what happens, we know there'll be some fireworks there. Gilmer and Fannin, a lot of good buddies on those teams, but there's a lot of pride at stake, has been for a long time. So looking forward to that. September the 1st, we'll go down the road. It'll be Fannin on the road at Pickens. Nice little rivalry that's developed between those two teams and dates back a long, long way. Missed a few years, but now they've renewed that one as well. September the 8th, we'll be right back here as Ringgold travels to Gilmer County. On September the 15th, we will head up to our friends in Tennessee as Copper Basin hosts Chattanooga Prep. Looking forward to that game. September the 22nd, it'll be a big region matchup as we see a handoff here for L.F.O. Another good carry for their tailback. He's done a really, really good job, has Trey Lewis. September 22nd, it will be Lumpkin on the road at Pickens. Should be some major implications for the region there. Lumpkin at Pickens. We'll be back here on September the 29th as Gilmer welcomes in West Hall. West Hall at Gilmer. On October the 6th, we will go back to Blue Ridge as Fannin welcomes in Model. That should be another big game that has some region ramifications as the quarterback throws that one into the cheerleading section. Then on October the 13th, Dell, this is going to be a good one. We'll be back here, and it will be Pickens at Gilmer. If you think Gilmer has forgotten that game last year, you're sadly mistaken. It was really a game that they lost 2 or 3 times. That loss really, they feel like, deflated them. And so Pickens and Gilmer, that'll be a big game. And then on October the 20th, we're going to have a flex game. So whichever one of those games has more meaning for a region championship as we get closer to the end of the year, we'll try to go to, whether it's Fannin, Gilmer, or Pickens. They all three have a home game. And so we're going to be traveling all up and down this 515 corridor and trying to get some really good games for you each Friday night. We hope that you will tune in.
So 2:59 left to go in the game, and Lakeview Fort Oglethorpe now with their 9th possession of the game. So if you're trying to limit possessions, keep them to 10 or less in the game, I think the Bobcats are close to being able to do that. And that is very difficult to do if 3 of your possessions ended up with touchdowns on one play. That leaves a lot of time on the clock. So, but L.F.O. trying to, they have a young team. I don't really see anything wrong with the coach, playing his starters as long as he has. He's trying to make them have a little taste of success. That should have been successful for probably the 3rd or 4th time tonight. We've seen a great pass just float through the hands of a wide open receiver.
Yeah, this receiving unit is not helping their quarterback out any. I'm sure they will hear about that in practice. So even down 42-7 with a running clock, you want to make sure those passes are complete. They are still lined up, though, 4 wide receivers.
4th and 1. And I think they may be audible to a run here because they were in a pass formation.
That's one way to get him back in the spot. You're right, Dell. They do audible to the run.
You realized this 4th down, they needed to get a first down to keep this drive alive.
Thomas Long, the sophomore receiver, tried to go in motion, and he was literally shoved back to his spot by the quarterback.
That's not the play. Get out of here. We're running where you're standing right now.
That's right. 1st and 10 here with 1:40 left on the clock in this Climatrol heating and cooling 4th quarter. That was a great play.
Receiver open again. This time he hangs on to it.
Trying to put another score here on the board. This Gilmer defensive unit with some of the reserves in wants to keep them out of the end zone with about a minute left.
The first group was undersized compared to the offensive line. This group, wow, it fell for him a little bit. Throw for the corner, wide open, and touchdown.
Yep. And he just earned his spot back on the bus on the ride home. Did Creighton Johnson. Touchdown reception. Keefe able to hook up with him after a couple of miscues. And Keefe definitely with a ton of arm talent, able to throw the ball on the run. And so L.F.O, if they could get it going, they definitely have the quarterback to help them. But a tough night tonight here on the road in LJ.
And they're trying to run this play with 9 players. Now they can get the other 2 out there.
Extra point up. And it is good. We're going to go down to our guy on the field for the last time, probably until our post-game show, Caleb Frady. Try to put a bow on this one a little bit. Of course, L.F.O punches that one in, but really from the first quarter on, it's been all Bobcats.
It really has. I don't know what you'd be disappointed in tonight. If you're a Gilmer fan, you've gotten to see the offense move the ball efficiently, quickly, big plays, long drives. The defense has done really well. The size that L.F.O has got on the line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball, Gilmer's lines have matched up really well and have been more physical, more aggressive. So that's one thing I take away. This is going to be a really good harbinger, hopefully, for things this season for the Bobcats. Still a ton of room to improve, too. So the growth you see from game 1 to game 2, like Dale mentioned earlier, if tonight is a good starting point, I'm excited to see where this Bobcat team can go.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, this, Dale, is an indicator. You know, you can't take it for granted. You can't say it was a fluke night. This team, you know, they have stuck to the script for what they do. We know their identity. We're not going to be surprised when we see them.
No.
It's all about their ability to execute and exert their will, force their will on their opponent.
Well, I think you saw everything you wanted to see. They were crisp. They executed their plays very well. They showed explosive plays in addition to the ability to run the clock. Defense made some good adjustments, and special teams looked to be far better, although we certainly didn't see them punt tonight. But special teams look to be far better than they were this time last year.
One final score update from down the road. Pickens has put 10 points on the board with 1 minute and 30 seconds left. It is 38-21. So the Dragons will join the Bobcats in the win column tonight at 1-0. Fannin falls to Union last night. They sit at 0-1. We'll try to get you a Basin score by the time we get to you next week. And so hopefully we're wishing success to all of the teams in our viewing area. And Gilmer and Fannin will play next week, and we're looking forward to that. Our pregame show will begin at 7 o'clock and the kickoff at 7:30. And so looking forward to that. That will do it. Clock expires, and the final here in LJ is 42-14. Great performance from the Bobcats in our Holtz Ace Hardware Game of the Week. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we will wrap this one up for you, get you ready for next week, and celebrate a big Bobcat victory on ETC.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Oh boy.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Since
Since 1994, North Georgia has called on Appalachian Propane for all its propane needs. Why propane? It's extremely affordable, efficient, and most of all, clean burning. Go green and think clean with propane. Our exceptional customer service and affordable rate has made us the best choice for residential, business, and farms throughout North Georgia. So the next time you think propane, think Appalachian Propane, a division of the Thomas Oil Company since 1960. Remember, go green and think clean with Appalachian Propane.
Come on down to Holt's Ace Hardware in Ellijay. It's time to upgrade your grilling game with our premium selection of grills and smokers. Stay fashionable while enjoying the great outdoors with our trendy and functional clothing for men and women. Need furniture? Holt's Ace has what you need from the den to the patio. Visit us today and start making your house a home. Tackle any yard project effortlessly with our wide range of high-quality tools and equipment. Holt's Ace Hardware in Ellijay.
Welcome back to our ETC Game of the Week. It is a big victory for Gilmer, 42-14, and Dell, you really feel like from that first quarter they controlled the flow of the game. There were moments where it was a little blocky and you'd like to do things a little bit better, a couple penalties, but surely when Coach Stander and his staff sit down and meet, they're going to be really happy with the way the team played. Yeah, I have to think so. I mean, you look at it from an offensive standpoint. I think the key, if you're going to give an award to anybody, give it to that offensive line. I cannot recall a place in the game where Lakeview Fort Oglethorpe got penetration. So when you're starting your plays with positive yardage, even if it's a yard or two or three, whatever it is, makes your offense successful. I think the offense was really good. I don't think L.F.O. came close to stopping them. So I think that's all positive. I think defensively, Bobcats played very well. They made some adjustments that enabled them to get pressure on a very good quarterback. I don't think you've heard the last of him for the next couple of years for sure. He's a talent. But I think the Bobcats dominated in every phase of the game tonight, played really, really well. Nobody got hurt. It's exactly how you want to start the year. Yeah, exactly. Caleb Frady down there on the field, you saw it from the best vantage point of anybody in the stadium. So talk about, the game tonight and what you feel about this Bobcat team moving forward in the season.
I think you got to be excited about the baseline that has been laid here tonight. Gilmer out-physicaled and out-muscled a team that outweighed it and outsized it on the line of scrimmage. Showed a lot of speed as well against some really good athletes as well. Running backs getting loose in the secondary. The offense looked good, better than maybe what we were expecting to see. But the one thing that was encouraging, like Dale mentioned, the defense. You saw that secondary kind of get taken advantage of a little bit earlier in the game, but coaching staff made some really good adjustments, and you never really saw that again the rest of the game. They started applying pressure in a variety of ways, mixing some coverages and bringing pressure from a variety of areas, and Gilmer would bend but would never break and let L.F.O. self-destruct. And I think that's a great sign. If you can let a team self-destruct and beat itself, and you can move the football and control the tempo, can do some things in the regular season. So as good of a night as it was tonight, if that growth goes from game 1 to game 2, excited to see what this Gilmer's team can do here in the coming weeks. Yeah, absolutely. Caleb, we appreciate you being with us, and looking forward to a great year together as we watch football here in the mountains. And Del, Caleb brought up a really important point, I think, the in-game coaching adjustments there, especially on the defensive side. Coach Jeff Nelson and his staff, we saw him sort of get exposed there on that first drive. They made adjustments, brought more pressure, and really made it difficult for L.F.O. And one thing, all the things we talked about pregame and also during the course of the game, one thing we forgot to mention is this is exactly the same coaching staff for Gilmer that they had last year. Yeah. That's very unusual at the high school level. You'll have assistants change out. It's very unusual to have exactly the same staff. So not only the players are in the system, coaches are in the system and know the players for 2 years in a row. So it's bound to make a difference. I think you'll see them be able to make a lot more adjustments this year than they have in the past. Absolutely. But if you're Gilmer, celebrate the win, but realize you have a challenge next week. You're going to travel to a big rival in Fannin, and they have revenge on their mind after a 49-35 defeat last year, and we got a whole week to build up to that game. So we hope you'll be with us next week as we have Gilmer and Fannin and renew that rivalry. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors. Thank you for being part of the coverage this week. Great atmosphere at Gilmer. Marching band did well under a new band director. Everything going right here at GHS tonight. So on behalf of our director, Nick Boker, Caleb Frady, and Dell Land, we hope you have a great weekend. We're looking forward to seeing you next Friday night as Gilmer and Fannin tee it up and renew their rivalry.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Luttrell's Hardware in Copper Hill, Tennessee is your one-stop do-it-yourself shop. We stock everything from fasteners, electrical and plumbing parts, power tools,
animal feed, and so much more.
Save yourself a trip or two into town and come see us at Luttrell's Hardware
on Highway 68 in Copper Hill, next to Runway Fireworks.
Or give us a call at 423-548-3300.
Here's Grandma Florence after that flood wiped out the whole neighborhood.
Sometimes I just cannot believe all the storms we've gone through here.
I can only hope that we'll be able to leave this house to you one day, baby. You're our legacy.
Planning for these disasters will make sure we're safe, and is the best way to protect that legacy.
Your family is your legacy. Planning for a natural disaster will make sure you're all safe. Visit ready.gov/plan for the tools and tips you need to start your emergency preparedness plan today.
My character, Shazam, knows all about growing up in a family full of teenage superheroes. They're bold.
Where's everyone going?
To fight crime?
Okay.
Adventurous. Shazam! There's never a dull moment. And no matter what happens, they'll always have your back. All they need is a place to grow and be themselves. And the best part is, you don't have to be a superhero to adopt a teen. Learn more about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward.